Chapter 6. Xiao Bei and the rest sent people to continue the rescue. The most advanced equipment was 6 snowmobiles, 5 of which were chain cars and 1 of which was anti-skid tires. Both of them were field test subjects. One was to test the terrain, and the other was to test if there were any obstacles in starting the oil under low temperature. Of course, they also brought blowtorches. If it really did not work, they could heat it manually. The 500 protection team had rested well last night. This time, they were going to the He River in the northeast. There were less than 60 households at the intersection of the Yellow River and the Weifan River, with a population of slightly more than 300 people. This was the last populated area in the surrounding area. As for whether there were a few families who went there to build thatched huts, there were probably some, but there was no way to save them. There were no markings on the military and administrative maps. Where could they find people in such a snowy day? Therefore, Xiao Bei and the rest could only comfort themselves. They thought that when winter came, the minority or those who lived alone would go to places with more people to live. Otherwise, many of their living materials would be difficult to guarantee. If they really did not go down the mountain to live with others, they could only pray for their own good luck. It was impossible for them to pull more than 20,000 people to carry out a carpet search. Moreover, the person they were searching for was unknown. The 500 selected people set off just like that. They brought snowmobiles, sledges, oxygen tanks, as well as heating, heat preservation, and chilblains medicine and food. What they needed to do was not to stop the snow from falling, nor did they need to build houses for the locals. They just needed to bring them out. Xiao Bei and the rest believed that the locals would not freeze to death immediately. It was definitely not a problem for them to last for 2 days. The biggest danger was not from the snow, but self-abandonment. Losing contact with the outside world for a long time would torture people to the point of insanity. I hate this heavy snow more and more. Not only is it delaying our journey, but it also makes us worry. TSK, do you think I will be afraid of snow? It's said that there's no way to defy the heavens when it comes to evil. You're absolutely right. Xiao Bei muttered, obviously trying to cheer himself up. He turned around and ordered, go back to the tents. Those who are going to class, go to class, and those who are going to play, play. The children of Kagwan County were very obedient. They split up according to their learning progress and were taught by the original workers. The younger children looked for toys to play with. There were also some who ran outside the tent to stand in the open space, motionless, as they watched the snow fall. No one knew what they were thinking. The children's world was always so colorful and unpredictable. The members of the protection team began to set up new tents and prepared delicious food in advance. When the people of He arrived, they would eat and rest immediately. Sister Xiao Bei, why don't you go out and help and tell them what to do? Aren't you the leader? A servant girl who had been talking to the rag doll for a few minutes suddenly remembered something and immediately asked Xiao Bei about it. Xiao Bei patted the girl's head and narrowed his eyes. He smiled and said, if I don't help them, I'll be doing them a huge favor. I don't know anything, so how can I help? Professional matters should be left to the professionals. Let's not add to the mess, okay? Big Brother once said, don't be afraid of a godlike opponent, but be afraid of a pig-like teammate. Really? The little girl thought that Xiao Bei's words were very interesting. With one hand on her waist and the other holding the rag doll, she tilted her head and asked. Xiao Bei nodded vigorously. It's true. Right now, the honest me will make them feel more at ease. Then I can only bring you guys along to play. Come, I'll teach you kids who aren't old enough to enter school to sing nursery rhymes. All the children who could speak and weren't old enough to enter school gathered together, with Xiao Bei and the others. They earnestly learned and sang. This was another form of education. The nursery rhymes contained the basic numbers needed to enter school in the future, as well as the understanding of various words. Although there were no merchants in Kagwan County to sponsor the school was still built, and it was very good. The money was paid for by Xiao Bei and the others. Just like what they said, The current Tang Empire could no longer rely on merchants to let its children study well. It was no longer like in the beginning, when it relied on merchants to invest money. The merchants who first participated in the Morning Sun operation now not only received gratitude, they also received non-collateral, interest-free, long-term repayment, and large credit loans from the Great Tang Bank. This included the priority to sell new products, as well as investment and technical guidance. In other words, even if they were penniless, they could still make a comeback. The Morning Sun not only shone on the children, but also on the soul of a nation. Now that there was no need for merchants to bear the cost of education, there were more merchants who were willing to invest. The money they invested could be exchanged for a small portion of tax benefits. Of course, this benefit couldn't be compared to the amount of investment. In addition, there was also the credit limit of the Great Tang Bank. This couldn't be shown immediately. If one wanted to obtain more support from the bank, they would need a lot of credit points. Even so, there were more and more merchants who were willing to spend money on education. It could be said that it was a habit, or it could be said that it was an atmosphere. In short, there were fewer and fewer merchants who invested in the school, while there were more and more merchants who invested in the school. For example, if they went out for a stroll and found a school, they would stand at the door and look around. When they found the person in charge, they would throw 20 strings of coins, take the receipt, and continue to stroll. There were many such cases. They were casual and convenient, but it was difficult to supervise. Faced with such a situation, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found Li Longji and very easily took out a set of supervision and management regulations. It included all aspects, and it was impossible to say that there were no loopholes. However, it was very difficult to find loopholes and use them to gain benefits. The amount of corruption could not exceed 50 strings of coins because the overall amount fluctuated and the cycle was there. When this regulation was released, the officials of the imperial court were speechless. They originally thought that it would be very difficult, but in the end, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were so well prepared. It was as if they were the staple food on the table, and they could eat it when they needed it. There was no need to spend extra effort. Then, the schools that didn't have merchants to invest in were taken over by Xiao Bei and the others. The money spent was not necessarily the profits from the candy house, but also the special funds of the imperial court. Among them, there was money from the schools that had a lot of investment, and there were also schools near tourist areas and trade centers. Naturally, the money they received was more. If they received 1,000 strings of coins a day, how could they spend 1,000 strings of coins a day? Thus, they had to hand it over and let the imperial court distribute it according to needs. Kagwang County was one of the beneficiaries. The children enjoyed the welfare of the entire country, and when they grew up, they would return to the country through various positions. In the face of such a situation, the families that had monopolized most of the benefits of the Tang Empire had no choice but to support them. They dared to challenge the system, but they did not dare to challenge Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Thus, the children of this era were happy and hardworking, unlike Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's era. Many children were unwilling to go to school, and they saw school as a burden. They hoped to get sick and then ask for leave. The children of this era were very sensible. They knew that in the past, only the rich could find teachers to teach their children. They also knew that even if they found teachers, they lacked textbooks and usually copied them. It was not as good as now. Every time they smelled the ink of textbooks, the peace that came from the heart was happiness. Moreover, going to school was easier than picking firewood and herding sheep at home. They ate better than at home, had new clothes to wear, and could play with other children. The sensible children were told from a young age that all of this was given by Xiaobao and Cuckoo. These were two people with intimate names, lofty positions, and not too far apart. Thus, they had to be sincere in offering incense and praying to their longevity tablets every day. Otherwise, they would be letting down the Tang Empire, letting down the emperor, letting down themselves, letting down their conscience, letting down ********, since Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan enjoyed the love and respect of most of the people in the Tang Empire. They naturally had to do things for the people. They did not care about the few people who hated them in the original aristocratic families. So what if they hated them? Did they hate us for depriving them of their monopoly on education? Did they hate us for setting up a trap when we exchanged land with them for other benefits? Did they hate us for raising the status of the ordinary people? Did they hate us for exposing to the world the fact that they used the name of scholars who did not compete for benefits, but did business behind their backs? Yes, there were many things that could be done, but could not be said. Did we say it in the beginning? We did not say it, did we? Because we were not strong enough, we endured. Now that we are strong enough, we can do it. It is your turn to not say it. If you don't believe me, you can go to the streets and shout bad things about us. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan deceived the original aristocratic families, they did not show the slightest bit of embarrassment. Who asked them to foolishly exchange land for the right to operate the railway? Who asked them to exchange rare metals for the right to sell new goods? Do you dare to say that you did not want to take advantage of them? It is just that you did not expect the railway to develop so quickly and so many new goods to appear. Who is to blame? Blame us? Look carefully. That is the contribution of the people of the Tang Empire. How much tax can the two of us increase? It is the increase in the country's gross domestic product. Do you understand? With this thought, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very happy. The two of them worked together to suppress a class of interests in the Tang Empire. History could not be created by one person, but one person could guide more people to change it. So what if we suppress a class? Those powerful people can destroy an entire race. Do you think that there are few people who destroyed their own race? That is why the two of us have to work hard, under the condition of ensuring the stability of the lives of the people in the country. We have to do our best to liberate those who are still in slavery and help those who are being exploited. On the way to Hanyuan Palace, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan that the two of them had just discussed the problem class. Oh, Xiaobao, do you want to slaughter a large number of Indians like the United States or learn from Spain? As Wang Wan spoke, she tidied up her clothes. She had not worn the official uniform for a long time and was not used to it now. Zhang Xiaobao was also not used to it, but he endured and said, "Our Chinese civilization is different from other civilizations." How big was the original Central Plains? Why did it become the current territory? It is not how strong the military force is, but how tolerant the people are. The Jews are all over the world, but when they united and evacuated from various countries, the people in our country did not because they were assimilated. This is not the invasion of the national ideology, but the true integration of the two sides. So we do not need to slaughter a certain race until they are extinct. We just need to be in contact with them. Wang Wan narrowed her eyes and nodded with a smile. She knew that, as Zhang Xiaobao said, the Chinese people were never the same and would not reject others. Even if the whole world migrated to China, the Chinese people would welcome them. Come on, everyone do things together, and everyone's children can play together. It was not like other countries, regions, and ethnic groups that were xenophobic. To put it nicely, this was called national independence. To put it bluntly, this was called inferiority. How much inferiority did the people have to be so narrow-minded? How much inferiority did the people have to be so afraid of outsiders? Can't they live together? Can't they develop together? No, they must act like wild beasts, draw a circle, and then push others out of the circle. But the animal world told people that such wild beasts will eventually lose their territory. Then, if it was a nation or a country, even if such a country's technology was ahead of the time, in terms of spiritual level, it was still undeveloped. Of course, many countries might not think this way. They believed that using knives and forks and eating separately was a sign of civilization. Everyone ate what was in front of them. In fact, China had been like this since a long time ago. They used knives and forks and ate separately. But later on, they found that this was not the way. Knives and forks were made of metal, and there was a shortage of food in China. It was best for everyone to eat together and use chopsticks. This was the wisdom and behavior of survival. In other words, using knives and forks and eating separately was not a way of eating that was praised and worshipped. It was something that China had done a long time ago. It was just that a small group of Chinese people were blinded by other countries' technology. They saw that other countries' technology was better than theirs, and they thought that everything was better. Eating meat cooked with a grilled method and using other people's name, they felt that it was fashionable. Even if it was a bowl of noodles, using other people's name, they felt proud. The more she thought about it, the angrier Wang Wan got. She could not help but complain to Zhang Xiaobao. There were many stupid people in China back then, right? What's wrong now? Zhang Xiaobao was surprised. I'm angry. Look at how good the Tang Empire is now. In the past, when we attended banquets, there were always many people who thought that suits and Western gowns were formal wear. It was as if it was wrong to not wear it. They said that the guests were not allowed to enter, especially the men. They had to wear a suit and tie. When I was my brother's female companion, I wore a cheongsam and my brother wore a long gown. I didn't see the doorman dare to stop us and say that our attire was not proper. Especially when we went to America, the waiters there were very respectful and let us in directly. That was because they knew that my brother and I represented the cultural heritage of a country with a long history. Wang Wan touched her clothes and felt that it was no longer uncomfortable to wear the official uniform. This was heritage, and the material was good. After hearing Wang Wan's words, Zhang Xiaobao frowned and thought for a while, then asked, "Which brother? Female companion? You're paying attention to this?" "My brother." Wang Wan felt that Zhang Xiaobao's IQ had obviously dropped at this moment. She had to add on to explain so that Zhang Xiaobao could return to normal. Zhang Xiaobao rolled his eyes and said, "Oh, your second brother, Wang Yueli, the kid who lacks earth in the 5 elements? He started wearing long gowns when he was in junior high, just like Kong Yi. It was said that one day when it rained, his cloth shoes were wet, and he found a pair of boots at the last minute. After putting them on, he still looked as good as before. That's because everyone wants to see the treatment that Kong Yi has never enjoyed. It's just that I don't know if he has Kaiyuan Tongbao with him. It's best if he has 9 Kaiyuan Tongbao, right? You want a plate of fennel beans and drink it with water mixed with yellow wine. You know my family very well." Wang Wan sneered and questioned. Zhang Xiaobao looked innocent. "I have to know who is coming to arrest me, right? If it was that chief of the main hall, I would let him suffer a little." Wang Wan asked. "Suffer what? If it were him, that kid would still kidnap the child. I would still have to exchange with him, but I don't want to die with him. He's too ugly. He doesn't trim his nose hair once in half a year. It's almost like a beard. Did he deliberately keep it and put conditioner on it?" Zhang Xiaobao spared no effort to attack the chief of the Special 2nd Division who had insisted on arresting him, although this chief was at the level of the main hall and had a high position. Wang Wan's smile softened. She said, "At that time, you were so domineering. You actually had so many checks from well-known banks on you. You scared that kid. Maybe he was hesitating at that time. But I knew that you would definitely take out that money to buy his life. He shouldn't have kidnapped the child in a place that used to be an orphanage. No one can challenge the dignity of the director. Hubby, you're a man." Oh, honey, actually, second brother is a good person. Although he wore boots once, he didn't take off his coat, right? Kong Yi didn't take off his coat either. He even gave the child fennel beans. What he wanted to teach the child was not the 4 ways to write the word we. He wanted to teach the foundation of the Chinese language. This is just like how we tirelessly teach the Tang Empire's officials various economic methods. Even if it's the theory of fixed tax and value-added tax in a simple transaction, we have to gradually analyze it for the officials. We have to analyze the relationship between the increase of these 2 taxes and the increase of a local economic output and intermediate costs. We even have to give them guidance on consumer psychology. Why would the price of the same thing increase in the capital? What is the increase? Is it the influence of the regional CPI, the cost of the intermediate transportation link, the risk and loss of the product logistics, or the additional profit value pursued by the production area itself? Everything is to let the relevant people understand from the most basic aspects, so that they can grasp and formulate policies more easily. During this process, have we done anything unnecessary? Yes, because some officials are stupid. If you don't add anything, they won't even know what the snake is. At that time, Kong Iji probably didn't think so much. He taught others the 4 ways to write the word hui, just to show off. Many people thought that he was funny. Then I want to ask, is the word hui funny? Is the word hui funny in running script? Is the word hui funny in Xiaozhuan? If this Kong Iji really exists, then did the people who mocked him give fennel beans to the child? What did they teach others? Did they want to teach the next generation how to mock a person who was willing to teach the foundation of the Chinese language to others? Zhang Xiaobao said a lot of things, and they were about to reach the Hanyuan Palace Hall. Wang Wan was surprised. It seemed to be different from what they had discussed before. Why did Xiaobao say all this? She asked, "Hubby, are you saying that Lu Sun is narrow-minded?" "No, I'm saying that our second brother is very elegant even if he wears boots, especially when his female companion is you. This is the foundation of the Chinese. You didn't become the female companion of a strange man at a banquet in the West. You definitely belong to the category of beauty, just like Kong Iji." Oh, Wang Wan understood. He was actually talking about this for a long time. She glanced at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "The difference between you and Xianglin's wife is that you know that there are wolves in winter, but your thinking is as dirty as other men." "Thank you. I've always been like father-in-law, even though he's a high-ranking official," Zhang Xiaobao said understandingly. Wang Wan gritted her teeth and said, "My father only has one woman, and that's my mother. He has never thought of anyone else." "Ah? Then what should I do? Can I only have one woman, and that's my mother-in-law? That won't do. Xiaobao, for half a year, I've decided to let you count the moon. Now be serious, Hanyuan Palace Hall." Hanyuan Palace Hall was indeed a serious place. It was so serious that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to wear official robes. Even Xiao Bei and the others had to do the same. During the imperial court, they usually rode their bicycles here. If you want others to feel the same sense of dignity, you need your race to have a certain level of strength. It's best to have a base first, such as Israel. So, when you wear traditional clothes in other countries and are looked at seriously, you should first think about whether your own race is strong or not. If you think that your own personality is strong, then you are too ridiculous. When you turn around and laugh at your race, you are not a human being. In Hanyuan Palace Hall, Li Longji and the civil and military officials did not laugh at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Their expressions were very serious. It had nothing to do with the weather or the prestige of the officials. The direct reason was that they could not figure out why the 2 people below were wearing official robes to the imperial court today. The people who were usually calm and collected were actually so dignified. It made people feel uneasy. It was just as Li Longji had thought. What were they trying to do? Was the end of the world coming? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan bowed and spoke into the microphone that someone nearby passed to them. This subject, Bohai Commander-in-Chief Offices, Jidushi Zhang Xiaobao. This subject, Bohai Commander-in-Chief Offices, Jidushi Wang Wan. Pays respect to your majesty. There was a long line behind the microphone. It looked very inconvenient. Li Longji took a deep breath. He could already hear the sound of his own heartbeat. It made people nervous. "Minister Zhang, Minister Wang, dispense with the formalities, please sit." Li Longji responded in the manner of a proper ruler and minister. A little eunuch hurriedly ran over to prepare chairs. Luo Bin could not wait and went to the last 2 seats of the civil officials. He pushed them up and snatched their chairs and placed them behind Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sat at the very bottom facing Li Longji. There were also civil and military officials on both sides. This position was very good. The other officials could see the two of them if they looked down. Is there an important matter? Li Longji asked. He unconsciously crossed his hands together. The officials controlled their breathing and waited for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's reply. This subject found out yesterday that the Tang Dynasty's patrol inspector Zhang Xiaobai, Wang Xiaoyuan, and other officials encountered heavy snow on their way to Fengzhou. In order to help the local people, they are trapped in the open area of the Yellow River on the east side of Kagwan County. The transmission was interrupted. When this subject came, it had not yet been restored. Therefore, this subject wishes to ask the imperial court to send aid. Zhang Xiaobao explained the reason for his visit. There was a sigh of relief in Hanyuan Palace. Li Longji opened his crossed hands and glared at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He said, I thought it was something serious. In the future, the two of you are not allowed to be so scary. The casual clothes you usually wear are more comfortable. Yes, casual clothes are better. Yes, it should be casual clothes. It's better than official clothes. The officials all agreed. When they saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan urgently request an audience in official clothes, they felt that the sky was falling. It was actually a trivial matter. It was too deceptive. It's not good for the two of us to be too casual in the imperial court, Wang Wan explained. You can be casual. In the future, when you meet someone, the two of you can go around from the back. There is no need to let others report. The officials are already working very hard every day. Don't add to their psychological burden. We already know that Xiao Bai and the others are trapped. You and Xiao Bao can send people to deliver things. What do you lack? It's not easy to allocate things at the moment. This subject will take them from the national treasury. Li Longji's mood brightened. He no longer spoke in a formal manner. Zhang Zhong also raised his sleeve to wipe the sweat on his forehead. Just now, he was also frightened. Although his son and daughter-in-law looked very good in official clothes, no official or commoner wanted to see the two of them in such formal clothes. After letting out a sigh of relief, Zhang Zhong put on a serious expression and shouted at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, Xiaobao, Cuckoo, why aren't the two of you at home looking after Mingming? Why are you running to Hanyuan Palace Hall to talk about such a small matter? Zhang Xiaobao stood up and cupped his hands. He said, Minister Zhang, this official does not dare to agree with your words. Don't talk to me about this. Today, I am not the Minister of Works. I am your father. Xiao Bai and the others have more than 20,000 people in their team. They have all the supplies they need. Not to mention saving a disaster, they should be able to fight a siege against the enemy. Right. Tell me, what do they lack? Zhang Zhong, who had always been serious and attached great importance to the imperial court, could not help it. The main reason was that he felt that it was not good to scare the emperor and other colleagues. Zhang Xiaobao was not to be outdone. They lack oil, especially diesel oil and kerosene. Father, husband is right. Xiao Bai and the others lack the above two things. If it were normal times, they could use them sparingly and distribute according to the actual situation. For example, lighting can keep many places dark. For example, heating can seal tents. However, they are now facing disaster relief. Xiao Bai and the others must give the commoners an impression of strong soldiers. They will choose to light up the entire night, choose to increase the overall temperature of the area, and choose to force their way through when they are in a hurry. What the commoners see is that no matter when, where, what the situation is, the most elite troops of the Tang Empire will face it easily. Even if the sky falls and the earth shatters, the place where the protection team appears will not move. Even if the mountains and seas are turned upside down, they will be able to turn the tide. Wang Wan cooperated with Zhang Xiaobao to add on. Li Longji slapped the table. That's right. Wherever the protection team goes, it must be safe, no matter when, no matter where. This way, even if all the regular troops of the Tang Empire are defeated one day, the protection team will not be deployed, and my imperial army will not be defeated. The people will not lose their confidence. This is the last line of defense. Not only does it defend the territory, but it also protects the soul of the Tang Empire. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, Xiao Bai, and the others lack things. Send them. Your Majesty, it's impossible. We can't send them. The snow has already blocked the road. The Minister of War, Xiao Song, spoke the truth. He knew the army, so he knew how bad the environment was. Even Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's protection team could not break through. Every step they took was a pit. There was no way out. It's you who can't send them. Li Longji was unhappy. You're a normal person. You're saying it's impossible. Many years ago, when it was snowing heavily in Feng State, we sent 10 tons of supplies a day. How much did we send back then? The Turks who were willing to surrender saw that the supply of supplies to Feng State increased instead of decreased. What we need is this willpower. When faced with a strong opponent, they will become stronger. They will not compromise or lower their heads. Otherwise, do you think the Turks who surrendered will live so obediently? Xiao Song hurriedly admitted his mistake. Yes, Your Majesty is right. We are all kites. What we play is to soar into the sky in adversity. If there is no adversity, we will not fly. Then, Provincial Governor Zhang, Deputy Provincial Governor Wang, can you teach us how to fly? Minister Zhang must be confident, right? Xiao Song pushed the problem to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He did not forget to add fuel to the fire for Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong calmed down at this moment. He thought about it. His son and daughter-in-law were right. Xiao Bai and Xiao Yuan promised to show their strongest side, so that the people would feel at ease. No matter how heavy the snow was, the people would definitely see the sun rise and the clouds parting. However, the corresponding consumption would increase. The diet was fixed. No matter how much you ate, you could not eat the food of more than a few people. Oil was the most scarce. When the children left, they knew that they had only brought an extra month's worth of oil. Because the total time from the capital to Feng State was not much, they had already considered the consumption of oil if they encountered unexpected situations. However, who would have thought that an abnormal heavy snow would suddenly fall? Thinking like this, Zhang Zhong put away his temper with the children and asked softly, Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, if you need money from your family, just take it. There is no need to disturb the court. Thank you for your understanding, Father. The problem is not about money. It is a race against time. Send as much as possible to Xiaobai so that they will feel at ease. If it were a group of adult court officials, I could slowly gather the transportation resources and let them wait. However, Xiaobai and the others are our younger siblings. Yesterday, when we received the telegram, we did not immediately tell the emperor. Overnight, Cuckoo and I gathered the supplies, but when we woke up in the morning, we still could not make a telegram communication. Xiaobai and the others must be waiting for brother and sister to make a move. Every second that they wait, Cuckoo and I will feel heartache for one more second. Zhang Xiaobao spoke in a heavy tone. Wang Wan added, so after Xiaobao and I arranged everything, we went to the imperial court in our official robes. We requested the imperial court to issue a formal administrative order to rush to our younger siblings' aid. We didn't want to discuss in casual attire. Now, does anyone object or have any doubts? The officials collectively fell silent. Even the Minister of Revenue Wang Bei, who had always stood on the opposite side of the Zhang family and Wang family, did not dare to object. They knew that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were serious. Anyone who dared to raise any questions would be the enemy of the Zhang family and Wang family for life. This was different from the usual disputes in the court. They also knew that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were wearing official robes to express their private feelings. If anyone objected, they would definitely resign. What would the emperor do? Wang Bei thought for a moment and said, Your Majesty, I think that Xiao Bai, Wang Xiaoyuan, and the rest of the Tang patrol team are facing a severe test. To be honest, they are still children. We should not put all the pressure on them to save the people. Your Majesty, please issue a decree. Your Majesty, I agree. All the officials said in unison. Li Longji was relieved. He felt that this was what a real official should be like. It was fine to have conflicts in normal times, but at critical times, They should be unified and not fight among themselves. When the people of Tang were suffering, everyone's hearts were united. While the children were fighting, the adults could not fall behind. Thus he said, "You are right. As long as there is help, I am willing to do my best. There will definitely be no financial problems." Wang Bei looked at Zhang Zhong and said, at this time, he really did not have any selfish motives. He still remembered that when he offended Zhang Zhong, he stopped the benefits. Later, when his daughter-in-law was pregnant, he supplemented the benefits. Furthermore, the benefits that were specially made for the child were more expensive than before. He was telling himself that the child's matter had nothing to do with the political views of the adults. He wanted the child to stay away from filth. Now, Wang Bei also knew that he had to put the child first. If he still wanted to use Xiao Bai and the others to attack the Zhang family and Wang family, he did not dare to think about the consequences. However, he had already made a mistake in his morals. Money is a small problem. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, how do you plan to transport the things to the destination? Do we need to mobilize a group of eagles? Li Longji did not care about the money. What he cared about was the fastest way to send the things to the destination. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at his father and then replied, "It's too late. The group of eagles has always been in Feng province. That place is suitable for training eagles. Only planes can be deployed. Shuiyun has already gone out at dawn to lock onto Xiaobai's position. She will be back in a while. Then, the Tang Empire's air force will be deployed." As soon as Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, everyone finally understood why the two of them had gone to court. It turned out that they wanted to deploy the air force. The air force was led by the two of them. Even the key design was done by them. When the first plane took off, there was a small wind tunnel. Now, there were 41 planes in service. There were 366 pilots. Only 35 people could complete the mission well. It seemed that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo intended to deploy these 35 people. Will it work? Li Longji was not confident. The weather was too bad. Yes. From the capital, we have 16 planes that can fly to the destination and fly back after delivering the things. Each plane can deliver 500 kilograms of things. The problem is not taking off and landing. The capital's airport is very dry. The problem is the low visibility. We need Shuiyun's family to do a good job of navigating. Zhang Xiaobao said. Li Longji was surprised. Not 35. Only 16 are transport planes. To be precise, they are man-made bombers. The other planes can't fly over. Oh, they can fly over, but they can't fly back. Zhang Xiaobao explained. Li Longji thought about it and realized that the transport planes could fly further. He then asked, why didn't we build transport planes in the past? Because transport planes are not good as training planes. There will be a lot of new planes in the spring next year. From now on, we will start to transport the fuel. Each batch will be 8,000 kilograms. They will be delivered twice a day. When there is heavy snow, they will stop. Zhang Xiaobao was even more anxious than Li Longji. The people of Great Tang were already amazed when they saw planes. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew very well how bad the planes were now. The flight distance was short, the flight speed was low, the flight altitude was low, and the load was small. If it were them, one plane would be enough. As long as there was no snow at the airport, the flying environment would not be a problem. They did not need to observe the ground with their eyes. However, their technology was not up to par, so they could only endure. They were used to having supplies airdropped to any place in the country. How could they adapt to such a situation? Minister of War Xiaosong sighed and asked, "Is it very dangerous?" "Yes, it's not just a little big, but we have to go. Don't think that we are just delivering some things to Xiaobei. We have to follow the rules of war. If that place is not Xiaobei, but a large number of enemy troops, will our air force be deployed? If there is a need, we can let other planes take off. It will be a one-way trip. Today, I want everyone to allow the planes to take off. Also, I want everyone to write a letter to publicize this operation. I want the Great Tang's air force to be perfectly displayed in front of the people. Zhang Xiaobao explained the purpose of publicity. Li Longji and the other officials agreed. They did need to let the people know how strong the Great Tang was. In the future, they could give other people a chance to survive. For example, a fisherman who went out to sea to fish was blown to an island by the wind. In the past, he and his family could only wait for news of his death. His family could not even get any news and could only guess. Then, with the aid of airplanes, the fisherman would adjust his mentality and stamina. He knew that his family would report him when they found out that he did not return. Then, rescue boats would come out. At the same time, planes would take off to patrol the sea. If he maintained his mentality and stamina, he could live for a long time. There were also those who lost their way in the grassland. An area was surrounded by floods. If a plane flew over their head and then flew away, they would know that more planes would appear. The education of patriotism was especially important. When he was in danger, the country would give him hope. When the country was faced with a choice between life and death, he would choose to protect the country. At the moment, the imperial court did not publicize airplanes, so the people were more familiar with Shui Yun. When Shui Yun was free, she would bring her family to various places in the Great Tang to familiarize themselves with the terrain. In the process, she would help others when they were in danger. When a small group of people was surrounded by wolves on the grassland, Shui Yun's family appeared. The wolves did not even have the courage to fight with Shui Yun's family and were chased by Shui Yun's family. When someone fell into the water, Shui Yun would rescue them. Although there were several scratches on their arms and legs when they were thrown ashore, they were only superficial wounds. You were still alive, right? When someone got lost in the mountains, Shui Yun would help to report to the local government office. It took some time to communicate, but the goal would be achieved in the end. Shui Yun's family was such an existence. Their ability to find people was better than that of pilots. Many people in the wild would feel relieved when they saw Shui Yun flying in the sky. The only pity was that since ancient times, there weren't many such intelligent animals. However, every time such an animal appeared, regardless of whether it was a cat, a dog, a cow, or a horse, it would be praised and valued by humans. Right now, it was time for Shui Yun to contribute. He was arrogant and never ate the food given by others. He also never showed kindness to others. Even if it was Li Longji, the emperor, he only trusted a small group of people from the Zhang family and Wang family. When he heard Zhang Yinglian's words and pictures and took out the photos of Xiaobei and the others, he spread his wings and rushed toward the snowy yellow riverbank, giving people the impression that he was very anxious. Xiaobei and the others, who had set up camp and stayed still, accompanied the children for a lesson and then played with them. They never said a word about the management of the camp, nor did they run around. Little sister Xiaobei, let's go catch a few fish in the river, okay? If we make a hole in the ice, the fish will show up by themselves. If we make a large piece of ice, I even dare to go down to catch fish. I'm very good. A 12-year-old boy named Sun Jizong was related to the county magistrate, Sun Mao. In fact, most people in Kagwan County were related to him. Sun Jizong probably wanted to show off his ability to catch fish in front of Xiaobei, so he was instigating. Xiao Yuan glared at him. You shut up. When are you still thinking of going out to find trouble? Do you want to waste the manpower of our guard team and break a large piece of ice for you to catch fish? Do you need it? My Xiaobei only needs a small hole to get in and take the fish out. You stay here or I'll beat you up. Sun Jizong shrank back. He felt that he couldn't beat Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan, don't always scare people. It's not good to beat people up. Our goal is to control other people's behavior. If you ask me, break his legs. I'll see how he goes into the water. You have to be rational in the future, okay? Xiaobei reprimanded Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan was very cooperative. Is one leg okay? I won't go down really. Xiao Yuan, you're the best. Sun Jizong was scared to death by Xiaobei. He was really rational. In order to achieve his goal, he didn't scare people at all and directly broke their legs. Xiao Yuan, who beat people up, was a good person. Hee, I'm just kidding. When the spring ice flows down, if we can still pass by, I'll accompany you to the river to catch fish. If you follow my team to play, you won't have to be afraid of drowning. We have special protective measures. Now don't run around. Can't you see that I've become obedient? Xiao Bei said with a smile. Sun Jizong heaved a sigh of relief. Suddenly he thought of something and asked, Brother Xiao Yuan, Sister Xiao Bei, I heard that Brother Xiao Bao and Sister Cuckoo are very powerful. They have been personally leading the rescue every time there's a problem. Why aren't you leading? Because we don't know how. The 9 of us can only lead about 300 people. We can't handle more. Now we're doing this. Keeping an eye on you is the greatest contribution to the team. We're a burden? Wrong. You and us are all hope. Hope? Oh, I hope that the snow will stop soon. Look, it's still snowing. How good would it be if this snow didn't happen? Xiao Bei, our Kagwan County is going to be rich soon. Everyone's poultry and livestock can be sold for money. There's also extra livestock to help with the farming. When it snows, I hear the county magistrate crying. Brother? Yes, I'm the oldest. The county magistrate said that God doesn't want to see us doing well. When the snow falls, people will die. Our last hope is your family's workers and cooks. They're really powerful. They didn't feel sad or cry. They just called for everyone to work. Then, the seedling protection team came. The same clothes, the same backpack, and the same footsteps. At that time, I felt that it wasn't a group of people, but a mountain. Can you imagine it? At that time, someone shouted at the top of his lungs to stop. Then, boom, 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 boom. Then, there was the sound of wind. They were so strong. We couldn't even line up properly. There were always people making small movements and people making noises. They had so many people, but they were like rocks, not moving at all. Sun Jizong, who was already very sensible, explained the situation to Xiao Bei and the rest. His eyes were full of admiration. Being praised, Xiao Bei was happy. He narrowed his eyes and said humbly, It's nothing. It's very normal. You said it too. They're the seedling protection team. You know how to farm. Didn't the seedlings stand very orderly? How can the people protecting them be bad? Actually, the powerful ones are here. Quick, prepare warm water and raw meat. Shui Yun is here. As Xiao Bei spoke, he inadvertently raised his head and happened to see a figure moving about amidst the flying snow. It was as if he was dancing amidst countless black dots. In the forbidden zone of life, Shui Yun's figure was so beautiful. Some people saw it for the thrill, while others saw it for the courage. Xiao Bei saw it for the calmness, as if she was in the water. Shui Yun, here. Quick, bring me the gun. Xiao Bei waved her hand vigorously, and then asked the guard beside her to bring the gun over. She and Xiao Yun each held one side. Shui Yun let out a cheerful cry. Her wings moved and retracted, and she lightly landed on the gun shaft. She swayed her head left and right, carefully sizing up Xiao Bei and the rest. Her eyes were full of kindness and inquiry. Immediately, someone sprayed water on Shui Yun. It had just been adjusted. Although Shui Yun came over in the wind and snow, her body was very hot, especially when she was flying so hard. Once she landed, her heart rate and blood pressure would increase. She needed to cool down. If there was no help, the eagle would have to cool down by itself. But if there was help, the eagle would feel much more comfortable. Most of the time, when a rabbit kicked an eagle, it didn't hurt the eagle. Instead, it caused the eagle's blood pressure to suddenly rise. Then, the eagle was done for. Shui Yun was very cooperative. She spread her wings, adjusted her position, and lowered her head to drink a few mouthfuls of water. She was very satisfied. Shui Yun, why did you come here? Is there something wrong? Eat something first, Xiao Bei said happily. Chapter 7. Shui Yun lowered her head and pecked at the bamboo tube on her claws. Xiao Bei smiled and helped her take it off. I saw it. I just wanted to ask you. Many children from the county came over, but Shui Yun was unwilling to talk to them. She waited quietly on the spear pole. She still had to fly back later. The mission this time was urgent, so she was more tired and had to recover her strength as soon as possible. The children liked Shui Yun, but they didn't dare to touch her. Firstly, they were afraid of being nagged, and secondly, it would seem that they didn't respect the general of the imperial court. Xiao Bei took out a stack of papers from the bamboo tube, looked at the words, and read aloud, "We are worried that you don't have enough gasoline and diesel supplies. Shui Yun will go to check the route. From Shui Yun, transport planes will deliver supplies to your department. Minister of War Xiao Song. Here, look at the blueprints." Xiao Bei handed the blueprints to the people of the protection team and complained, "Damn the telegram. It's not useful at the crucial moment, making Shui Yun fly back and forth. It's snowing." Xiao Yuan sighed and said, "It must be the idea of brother and sister. Others wouldn't have thought that we use more fuel." Xiao Hai added, "Since the supplies are coming, we can continue to send people to Yi River and set up a few contact points on the road. We can gather people as soon as possible and think of a way to cross the snow-covered area." The children nearby were obviously concerned about different things from the adults. When they heard that there was a plane coming, they spread the news one by one. Soon, all the children knew. All kinds of happy voices were heard in the snow. A few sensible adults felt sad. Sun Mao came forward and asked Xiao Bei and the others, "Is our arrival making things difficult for you? What kind of oil are you using? Is it the thing that the machine needs?" "It has nothing to do with you. How many people do you have?" "We have a lot of people, so don't worry. The oil is not valuable. The pilots who came can also be treated as training." Xiao Bei naturally couldn't say that he was right. Sun Mao nodded slowly and said, "If you need us, just let us know." He had already understood. At night, the lights outside were on. During the day, the tents were also open so that it wouldn't be so stuffy inside. If the people in his county felt comfortable and at ease, then the protection team would definitely do something. They couldn't just open the tents for no reason, and it wouldn't be cold in the tents. Sun Mao sighed. Xiao Bei and the others were just putting on an act. Their goal was to not let the people in their county suffer a little. When they returned home in the future, they would be full of energy when they started rebuilding. After thinking about it, Sun Mao felt conflicted. He wanted to tell the people in the county to suffer a little and not let Xiao Bei and the rest waste things. However, he was also afraid that Xiao Bei and the rest would waste their efforts. "Why don't we close the tent? Just say that the wind is too strong," Sun Mao muttered, wanting to help. "You better not interfere." Su Yilong's voice suddenly sounded from behind Sun Mao. Sun Mao turned around. Su Yilong smiled at him and said, "In fact, we are not very short of gasoline and diesel at the moment. According to the current consumption, it is not a problem to last for 20 days. Then, Sun Mao uttered a word, meaning to ask, "Then why did Xiao Bao and the others airdrop them? How could a plane fly in a snowy day?" The seedling protection team has a habit of constantly maintaining the level of logistics that is enough to support and win a battle, which is 10 times the battle reserve level of their enemy. Obviously, according to this consumption, the amount of firewood and gasoline reserves will be reduced. The seedling protection team does not like this feeling. Currently, the amount of firewood and gasoline used is 5 times that of a normal seedling protection team. Don't you realize that it is not cold walking near the tent? Su Yilong winked at Sun Mao, allowing him to feel the temperature of the land and the stickiness of the snow under his feet when it rolled. Sun Mao stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. He swallowed 2 mouthfuls of saliva. His expression changed and he said in distress, "It's all our fault. Xiao Bei and the others intend to give us a very safe environment." Yes, Xiao Bei and the others need the seedling protection team to leave an impression on you with their absolute strength. You don't have to feel guilty. Xiao Bei and the others are the same in any county. The ones that I admire the most are Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. It is only the second day, not even 24 hours. After the telegram communication was cut off, they could immediately respond in the capital. I guess Xiao Bei and the others took this into consideration. so they dared to operate the machine at a high capacity. The Tang Empire today is not the past. Su Yilong saw that she had said too much. She was afraid that Sun Mao's heart would be heavy, so she immediately added to comfort him. Sun Mao stood and thought for a while. He showed a special smile and said, "Yes, the Tang Empire with Xiaobao and Cuckoo is very strong. Since they have decided, let's enjoy it. The Seedling Protection Team has always been our most solid support. You should take the opportunity to organize the people in the county and let the Seedling Protection Team teach you the little knowledge in daily life. Don't think that you are more familiar with life than others, because you usually live like this. The Seedling Protection Team is systematic learning. If you are not their enemy, you don't know how scary they are." Su Yilong helped to come up with ideas. Since everyone was here, it was a waste of resources to only let the people in the county do some manual labor. Sun Mao touched Su Yilong's head happily and said, "Thank you. I will arrange it later. I really don't know how scary the Seedling Protection Team is. Even if you say that they can defeat 10 times the enemy at any time. I only know how firm I was when I saw them in despair when it snowed yesterday, because I am not their enemy. It is an enemy 10 times the same armed, not an unarmed farmer." Su Yilong emphasized, "They're not only responsible for the foreign war at the critical moment, but also for the rebellion of the army in a certain area. For example, the military and political officials in a slightly remote place in the Tang Empire join hands to rebel. What the Seedling Protection Team has to do is to go over and then annihilate. Don't think that the army in other places can compete with the Seedling Protection Team with the same weapons. They can't afford the training fees. I have seen it with my own eyes once. It was a training session for the Seedling Protection Team." "Really?" Sun Mao was curious. "Really, artillery and infantry worked together. That was a real fight. The artillery fell as if it did not cost money. The artillery's data was very tight because the infantry was not far from the landing point of the artillery. A row of artillery shells fell, the second row of artillery shells fell, and the third row of artillery shells pushed forward. Before the artillery shells hit the ground, they entered the first row of artillery shells. This is called slowly entering the bullet screen. The infantry needed to step on the artillery points and shoot during the attack to destroy the targets that were not damaged by the artillery shells. That was a real artillery shell. If there was a mistake between them, they would die. Previously, they needed to train separately. It was said that an artillery soldier needed to shoot 300 artillery shells a year. The error rate of the last few dozens of artillery shells was less than 3 meters to participate in such a live-fire exercise. What did I see that day? The artillery shells fell, the people pushed forward, followed by rocket launchers, artillery shells, grenade launchers, rifle grenades, and hand grenades. The entire position was full of all kinds of smoke and explosions. There was no blind spot, and all the targets were blown up. Only the army and other places of the Tang Empire dared to rebel. Even if the fortifications were built, they could not withstand the charge of the Seedling Protection Team because they did not have the money to train like this. Their battalion-level commander could not even compare to the leader of the Seedling Protection Team. Su Yilong said as she gestured, trying to describe the situation of the exercise to Sun Mao. Sun Mao was already confused. He smacked his lips and asked without confidence, "How many artillery shells can a sheep be exchanged for?" "It can be exchanged for at least 10, Su Yilong answered with uncertainty. Their artillery training used up 30 sheep a year. Sun Mao swallowed again. It was so expensive. More than that, their artillery soldiers not only need to know how to fire, but they also need to know how to repair, know how to airborne, snipe, dodge during the process of swimming, and counterattack on the other side. If an accident happens to the artillery soldier, any soldier can immediately take over the position of the artillery soldier. Although the shooting is not so accurate, the data needs to be calculated skillfully. Their artillery soldiers are amazing. There is a newly built cannon that can rotate. The artillery soldier blindfolded on it. When others report the position and distance, he can blow up the targets one by one. It is said that it is specially prepared for the scouts in special environments and terrains. When the scouts find the enemy, they measure the distance and position. In the case of fog, the cannoneers hit the target with one shot. Therefore, the seedling protection team is a standard combat force, not a simple rescue force. You don't have to worry about whether they have enough supplies. They just calculate the logistics for the battles that they encounter at any time. After Su Yilong finished speaking, Sun Mao was finally not as anxious as before. He greeted the other party and went back to inform the people in the county to be prepared and learn more from the seedling protection team. Xiao Bei had already written a reply and stuffed it back into the bamboo tube. Shui Yun, it doesn't matter if it takes a little bit of time. Fly slowly when you go back. When you have enough rest, bring them back in the afternoon. Look at the sky. The snow will be lighter in the afternoon, right? Xiao Bei was always worried about tiring Shui Yun out, just like how he did not want the seedling protection team to operate at full capacity. Shui Yun looked up at the sky and nodded slightly to Xiao Bei, meaning that the snow in the afternoon would indeed be lighter. Normally speaking, Shui Yun had the last say in the weather. He could easily fly to the stratosphere and glide up there for fun. He had seen a lot and naturally knew what kind of clouds would have what kind of changes. Asking him to lead the transport plane only showed that the Tang Empire's technology was not good enough and could not fly to such a high altitude. Otherwise, it would be easier to airdrop. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan only had one word for this: endure. Endure the Tang Empire's technology and slow progress. Yes, slow. At the same time, the two of them lamented and complained. Why didn't they learn more about this back then? They were all geniuses, right? Even if they had to spend 2 more years to learn and remember, it would not be as difficult as it was now. Although the current speed of development had surpassed the historical speed of the Industrial Revolution, at that time, the Industrial Revolution did not have a clear path and was summed up in failure. It was not like the two of them who were very clear about how many detours the Industrial Revolution had taken. The light bulb did not need to be tested thousands of times. The sealing of steam engines was a law. The operating principle of internal combustion engines was very clear, including the faults that would occur and several design concepts that the two of them knew. Of course, for children who did not study hard, it was impossible for them to remember and use at will. The two of them did not have to worry about whether they studied well or not. It just depended on what they wanted to learn. Zhang Xiaobao never felt that he was qualified to waste time on playing and college feelings. He carried the wishes of the dean's grandfather, and he had to do what the dean wanted to do but could not do. As a member of the Red family, Wang Wan grew up in internal and external competition. She was also very talented and was never willing to submit to a man. No man dared to look down on her, not even Zhang Xiaobao. Thus, they controlled the overall program of the Tang Empire's economy, society, human nature, politics, military, and diplomacy. However, the two of them still felt that they had learned too little, and their evaluation of themselves was ignorance. Zhang Xiaobao had only attacked the loopholes in the economic system of other countries, but he had not helped in the construction of that era. That was because it was too difficult, and he did not have the opportunity. He was not willing to help a small country, and he would be caught helping China. Wang Wan only had a master's degree. Although she had learned a lot and was very good at it, she did not have a systematic understanding of the top areas. Physics was not good, chemistry was not good, and mathematics was not good. In that era, no one could be multi-specialized. If you thought you were a genius, then who was not a genius at the top? Thus, the two of them spent most of their time learning. They taught each other what they knew, and then studied it. Others would think that they were trying to solve difficult problems in the field of political economy, but in reality, the two of them had no such thoughts. The two of them spent most of their time studying biology, physics, chemistry, and mathematics, because this involved specific applications of medicine, weaponry, agriculture, and processing. Nowadays, the people of the medical academy almost regarded the two of them as gods. When the antibiotic penicillin was invented, the two of them were directly pushed to the altar. Later on, the two of them helped to develop erythromycin, and now they were developing a series of drugs for tuberculosis. As long as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had time, they would have the Medical Academy submit research reports to check the research progress and mass production of various tuberculosis drugs. This is the advantage of the free medical system. Many people are afraid of spending money. Even if they are not feeling well, they will not come to see a doctor. When they find out that they have tuberculosis and are in the terminal stage, it is impossible to say that they will die immediately. It can only be maintained, and then more money will be spent. If the disease is known in advance, it is easy to treat it, and the social value created by this person's life will definitely be far greater than the cost of treatment. There may be exceptions for a single person, but the social value has never been calculated for a single person. Wang Wan was waiting for the morning court to end, so that Li Longji and the others could come to see Shui Yun. Then, they could send out the transport plane. During the free time, she analyzed the report with Zhang Xiaobao and sighed with emotion. Zhang Xiaobao flipped through the report. Why do you think there are so many kinds of tuberculosis? Other than the common cold, it is probably the only kind that has many kinds. What you said just now was wrong in terms of calculation. Isn't it social value that they buy medicine when they are sick? Medical care has been industrialized. If they are not sick, they can create social value in other aspects. If they are sick, they can still create social value in medical institutions. Go, go, go. We agreed not to criticize the past. Look at the report. The little monkey is so pitiful. It is actually being inoculated with tuberculosis bacteria. In a few years, when the white mice are cultivated, the monkey can relax. Wang Wan saw that the report mentioned many monkeys, and then said that she was not a member of the Protection Association. She just said that she did not care. It was fine as long as the monkey was dead and the human was alive. If they wanted to take pity on the entire world, that would be a god. True gods were not the gods of various religions. The gods of religions had always brought about control, exploitation, and slaughter. You were the one who said something about social value first. Shui Yun has not returned yet. It seems that she will only send out a team in the afternoon. This is a kind of test for the Tang Empire's Air Force. If we force an airdrop in this snowy day, who knows where it will land? Zhang Xiaobao did not care about the monkeys. His thoughts were on the people. To be precise, it was on the pilots. Since the beginning of the airplanes, 6 pilots had died. This number was heavy and light at the same time. Every life was heavy. But just like what was said on the day of the airplanes, this road to heaven was full of heroes. Wang Wan flipped to the last page, closed the report, and said, "It can only be said that our technology is not good enough. Shouldn't we airdrop in snow? The reason is that we don't have satellites. There is no remote sensing detection system on the airplanes. Otherwise, what is snow? When we pass through the clouds, we are frozen in ice. Can we not fly? When we don't have an air force, we don't need them to do anything. Since we have an air force, they must bear the responsibility of the air force. Otherwise, why do they eat beef and mutton every day? Why do they build such a beautiful house? It is not because they are pilots, but because they are always prepared to sacrifice. You misunderstood me. I don't feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for the diesel and gasoline. In order to throw 500 kilograms of things, more than a ton of fuel was consumed. I am afraid that they will not be able to throw accurately and waste the money." Zhang Xiaobao argued. "It would be strange if I believed you." Wang Wan muttered, got up, and looked out the window. She called Zhang Xiaobao, "Go and cook. Shui Yun will probably be back soon. Xiao Bei and the others are probably afraid that Shui Yun will be tired, so they let him fly to the stratosphere." Shui Yun did come back from the stratosphere. He flew close to the ground to observe the terrain. When he came back, he could also observe the clouds. It was almost noon. Shui Yun landed easily and began to drink water. As he drank, he exhaled to lower his body temperature. There was another guided flight in the afternoon. His wife, Hong Wan, and the children were also there. When he went in the afternoon, Hongwan and the 5 children had to follow him. Starting tomorrow, they would be separated from morning to afternoon. The main thing was color. Shui Yun was too white, and it was not good to dye him with other colors. He could only rely on different colors from his family for the pilots to observe. After an hour, Shui Yun indicated that he was ready. Everyone followed him to the airport in the suburbs of the capital, including the Emperor Li Longji. The airport was clean and flat. Occasionally, there would be a gunshot or a few reared falcons hovering in the sky. Their purpose was to shoot and catch birds. At the same time, they could practice their marksmanship. 16 transport planes were pulled out and parked on both sides. 366 pilots were neatly dressed and lined up in formation. There were also publicity staff from the capital newspaper taking photos with precious cameras. At the same time, more than 1,000 people appeared around them. They were still vigilant against each other. When they looked at unfamiliar people around them, they felt that they were saboteurs. Li Longji was invited to the stage to speak first. His gaze swept across everyone's face. Li Longji said into the microphone, "When I first heard of the heavy snow in Yin province, I was very worried. Later, I found out that Xiaobei, Xiaoyuan, Shanghai 9 people happened to pass by. However, I am afraid that it will be difficult for the protection team to continue their supply and rescue." Shui Yun brought back news that they are heading west to meet the East Current. Their code name is Countercurrent. Therefore, you are ordered to wait for the long-distance airdrop. Here, I wish you victory. Now, Wang Wan will swear the oath. Applause sounded. It was from the people and publicity staff. Only then did Li Longji not get angry. Wang Wan came up and applause sounded again. Wang Wan frowned and said with a cold expression, "Stop clapping. There are still people waiting to be rescued. There is nothing to be happy about." The people and publicity staff immediately stopped. They were very nervous, afraid that they would anger their cuckoo. There are 366 pilots in Great Tang. Wang Wan stared at the pilots. However, only 35 people can participate in this mission. The others are all unqualified. If you don't work hard during training, you will be eliminated at the crucial moment. There is no need to talk about feelings. I am very disappointed in those people who, under good weather conditions, can actually make a low-altitude airdrop with a margin of error of 1 mile. This is a great humiliation. 331 pilots lower their heads, and some of them even shed tears. Another 3 pilots knelt on the ground. Obviously, they were the ones who had made the airdrop a mile away. The remaining 35 people. Wang Wan changed her target again. You just did better than the others. It doesn't mean that Xiao Bao and I are satisfied. This mission will be carried out by you. There will be 16 people in each group. Bring along 16 people who are better trained to participate. The remaining 3 will be on standby and be ready to be replaced at any time. Wang Wan paused for a moment to let everyone understand. Then, she said, "The airport in Beijing will provide you with logistical support. Takeoff and landing will not cause you any trouble. I won't encourage you. I don't want to talk about how difficult the mission is, and I don't want to talk about how honorable you are. My request is simple. Fly over, drop the airdrop accurately, and fly back. As for the distance, bad weather, and low visibility, that is your problem. You are the pilots. I don't care about the process. I only want the results. If it was easy, why would I need you? Pilots carry out such missions. The meaning of your existence is this moment. Now, there is no road on the ground that can be passed at the required time. What should we do? Go up and fly over from the sky. Thus, this time we will call it Long Sky Pass. Get on the plane and set off." Yes, the 16 pilots and the 16 pilots who followed to learn how to adapt shouted and ran to their planes. The people who came to watch the show and the publicity staff were confused. All of them felt a surge of emotion and were very puzzled. Just now, Cuckoo clearly said that she did not encourage them. Moreover, she was indifferent to the life and death of the pilots. She said that the mission was not difficult and that it was not honorable when they did it. Then why did it sound so prideful? It was as if being a pilot was something to be proud of. Especially that operation code, Long Sky Pass, was so domineering. How was it pass? It was clearly to force their way through. It echoed Xiao Bei and the others' code name, Countercurrent. Listening to it, one would feel that they were full of energy. Li Longji and the other officials were very satisfied with Wang Wan's pledge. Not mentioning how dangerous it was, just saying that they had to complete the mission was a form of trust. Trust in the pilots was even better. The transport planes that had been resupplied took off in 2 waves. 7 of Shui Yun's family were mobilized. They tied 2-foot-long strips of colored cloth to their feet. At the end of the strips of cloth were red lights powered by batteries. When they entered the snowy region, the pilots had to rely on the colors of Shui Yun's family and the strips of cloth and lights to determine the altitude and direction. The people on the ground looked at the sky and did not look away even when the planes became small black dots. They were waiting for all the people who flew to come back. The publicity staff began to think about how to write a script. They had to do their best to publicize this matter and let the people of Great Tang know what kind of strength their country had. Let's go. We still have to nurse Mingming when we get home. Wang Wan breathed a sigh of relief and turned to leave. Feeding the child was the most important thing. Shui Yun said that the snow will be lighter when we fly over. This is good news. Zhang Xiaobao followed. Let's go back. Everyone, go back to your own departments. Don't be lazy. Li Longji waved his hand at the people and strolled back. Everyone, it's been hard on you. Let's go to Savant's restaurant tonight. Zhang Zhong found a bicycle somewhere and rode it away. Wang rubbed his stomach. You didn't eat lunch, right? What time is it? If you eat again, can you still eat at night if you're full? It's so confusing. I'm old. It doesn't matter if I eat more or less. When I go back, I'll just eat some snacks and drink a pot of tea. It's good for my health. Yuan Qianyao was obviously planning to eat a lot tonight and find an excuse to stay healthy. You and Rome, we're eating and drinking well in the capital. I wonder how the people in the snowy regions are doing? If we can find a kind of food that can be grown in the snow, then... I'm still nurturing the seedlings. I can't delay. Everyone, I'll make a move first. See you at Savant's restaurant tonight. Without waiting for Yu Wenrong to finish speaking, Jiang Xin cupped his fists and strode away, disappearing in front of everyone. Yu Wenrong was right. There were really people suffering in the snow. It wasn't because of their food, but because of their mentality. He River had a long history. It was a village, but it was of a higher level than a village. It also shouldered the heavy responsibility of defending against foreign enemies and transmitting information. It was built next to the ferry, and the population had always been small. No one was willing to live here. In the past, there were only military households and not civilian households, and many of the military households had fled. With the birth of the Imperial Court's welfare benefits, He River had a population of less than 60 households and less than 300 people. The reason for this situation was simple. Some people lived in the mountains and hunted for a living. They only opened up a few acres of land and could harvest some food, but not much. The soil was not good. There were also people who lived on boats, ate in the river, and used in the river. In the winter, they brought the boats ashore and cut ice to get water. Only when they needed to trade would they come to the pass and barter with the merchants who came over. Usually they didn't register because they were afraid of paying rent and tribute, as well as working. When the Imperial Court's welfare policies caught up, they came over to register because there were subsidies. For example, the simplest salt was rationed according to the number of people's hair. Remote areas were free of charge. There were also daily medicines. There were no medical centers in the area, so they could only send the medicines over. Since medical treatment was free, there was no such thing as reselling. Finally, when there was a disaster, people who didn't live in He River usually felt danger when they suddenly saw the weather change. They immediately remembered that they were from He River. So the Imperial Court's disaster relief would definitely be managed according to a fixed location. The previously inaccurate data finally confirmed the number of people. There was probably no one on the mountain or by the river. If it wasn't accurate, it would mean that there were people who died and didn't report it. There were also newborns who were young and didn't register in time. They took a boat and went downstream. At this moment, He Village, or rather He River Jean, had just finished counting the number of people. There were 42 people under the age of 15. To be precise, they were under the age of 6. There was no one between the ages of 6 and 15. There were 15 people over the age of 60. The remaining 201 people made a total of 258 people. This is the most in the past few years, right? Huang Fuyechi, the Guanjin of He River Jean, said to the person beside him after counting the number of people. The person beside him was Guanjin Sheng. Like him, he had a compound surname. However, he wasn't Huangfu, but Xiaoho. His name was Yi. Both of them were 9th-rank officials. One was a 9th-rank official, while the other was a 9th-rank official. One was 37 years old, while the other was 34 years old. Both of them had families and children. They didn't lack elderly people either, but they didn't live in He River. The two of them had been here for 4 years. They would go back after 2 more years. No one was willing to stay in a poor place. Xiaoho Yi nodded. That's a lot. The snow came so quickly. We have to thank Xiao Bei. Yes. Otherwise, even if they knew the weather was bad, it would be too late. They knew that Xiao Bei and the others would pass by a few days ago, so they ran over to welcome them. If someone didn't want to welcome them and didn't come over, they would probably freeze to death. In this remote place, 1 or 2 families can't survive the snow. Huang Fuyechi was filled with emotions. The people of He River Jean deliberately brought their families to meet Xiao Bei and the others despite the hardships. They brought a lot of game and frozen freshwater fish to express their gratitude to Xiaobao, Cuckoo, and the Imperial Court. Yes, those who aren't close to Xiaobao, Cuckoo, and the Imperial Court will eventually suffer retribution. Who can save them? Who knows where they are? It's just that there are too many children here, so it's too noisy. Xiaoho Yi was even more pious when faced with such a situation. He believed that this was fate. They clearly knew that Xiao Bei and the others were coming, but they still didn't come to He River Jean to wait respectfully. The snow was merciless. Who could help? Huang Fuyechi took out a water bag and drank 2 mouthfuls. He praised, "Good wine. It's strong enough. It's a pity that there aren't any side dishes. I have some. Change." Xiaoho Yi snatched the water bag and took out 2 handfuls of broad beans with fine salt. He let Huang Fuyechi put them in his pocket. Huang Fuyechi looked over in surprise. Xiaoho Yi drank a mouthful of wine and explained, "A child gave it to me. He said that it was too hard to chew, so I gave him a piece of jerky." "You can chew it with jerky?" Huang Fuyechi asked. Xiaoho Yi smiled. "Who knows? It's still a lie. They're young, so they like to eat meat. Those over 6 years old have all been sent to other places to go to school. There are even younger ones sent out. They cry. They can't bear to part with them, but they have no choice. It's He River Jin's fault for not having school. I don't know when Xiao Bei and the others will send people over. It should be soon. It snowed yesterday. I bet that the protection team will come in 3 days at most, no matter how difficult the road is. It's a merit for us to take care of the 258 people." Huang Fuyechi's expression was relaxed. The people in He River Jean weren't worried either. With the resources in He River, it wouldn't be a problem to hold on for more than 10 days. Before that, the protection team would definitely come and deliver more things or lead everyone to leave. The firewood was burning, and the pot on the rack kept steaming. The food inside never stopped cooking. Whoever was hungry would scoop it out to eat. Everyone had packed their luggage. Huang Fuyechi and Xiaoho Yi had said that the wind at He River was strong, and the snow was flying everywhere. It had to be cleaned up, and it was difficult to guard. When the protection team arrived, there was a high possibility that they would lead everyone to leave. Since that was the case, they should prepare first. They shouldn't wait for them to come and pack up, which would be a waste of time. The snow was still falling. The sky seemed brighter at noon, but after noon, it gradually became gloomy again. Some people rested by the fire, and some people were not sleepy. They sat there and continued to wait. Their eyes were not empty, and they were not anxious. Instead, they were peaceful and expectant. They didn't believe that Xiao Bei and the others would give up on them. It was just like the conversation between a father and his daughter when he was baking a scallion pancake for his child. Little darling, the pancake will be cooked soon. Eat it with the soup. Don't always run around. Eat more and have more strength. When the protection team comes, you can follow them. It's the vigorous protection team. Will Xiao Bei come back? Little darling sniffled and waited for the pancake to be baked. She corrected her father's way of addressing her and asked with uncertainty. Yes, it's the Zhuang sapling protection team. Little darling knows so much. Little Bei is making toys for little darling in a safe place. He won't come. Little darling will see when she goes over. The father knew that the rescue team could not include 9 children. Oh, little darling was a little regretful, but she immediately became happy again. Xiao Bei must have a lot of toys. Daddy, I heard from Big Mother that little darling has an uncle who also walked out in the snow when it was snowing. He froze to death. Why didn't he wait for Xiao Bei? A flash of sadness appeared in the father's eyes, but he was not sad. Perhaps it had been too long. He only said to his daughter, "My brother is 8 years older than me. 23 years ago, he was as old as your second brother, 19 years old. At that time, there was no Xiao Bei and no vigorous protection team. There was no hope if he couldn't wait. I can wait, can't I? Daddy, is hope the side of disappointment? Yes, little darling is so obedient. I don't want to be disappointed. Then you have to protect Xiao Bei and the protection team first. It's the vigorous protection team. I know that I'll die if I'm disappointed. I don't want to die. I'll protect Xiao Bei. Why aren't they coming?" Little darling, who did not completely understand what it meant to protect Xiao Bei, had a determined look in her eyes. Then, she became anxious. She was afraid of death. As if to fulfill her wish, a group of bright colors appeared on the ice and snow in front of the ferry as soon as she finished speaking. They were approaching very quickly. They're coming. Look, that skis. Their clothes are so pretty. They're so colorful. Where are Xiao Bei and the rest? They've arrived in one day? Get up. We'll leave immediately. Let them rest and drink some soup. As the protection team arrived, various voices appeared in the crowd. When they got closer, the crowd realized that the protection team had tired expressions on their faces. Their bodies were also covered in snow. All of them gathered at the shore and waited. There were more than 100 people in the protection team. When the leader saw that the people they were supposed to receive had already packed their things, he shouted happily, Come with us. Leave now. Bring whatever you can bring. Leave the rest. If you don't leave now, the road will be blocked again." Huang Fuyechi and Xiaoho looked at each other and quickly called out. They did not care about putting out the fire or the pot. They led the people, children, and the young and strong people to support the old people and spread out. They followed the protection team, who turned around and walked to the other side of the river. All of them paid attention to their feet. After an hour, the people finally knew why the protection team asked them to evacuate directly. In front of them was a valley between 2 mountains. Those who were familiar with the local situation knew that it was about 2 miles long. What they saw now was the wind blowing the snow down from above. The highest pile of snow in the valley was as high as 2 people's height. There was a road in the middle that had been cleared. Moreover, there were large piles of snow falling from time to time. Some members of the protection team waved their snow shovels and rushed in with something over their heads. They disappeared directly. Behind them, there were people who rushed in. At the same time, they tried their best to push the snow to the side and step down. Occasionally, a pile of snow would suddenly spread to the sides, revealing the heads of the people who had rushed in before. Then there would be people who helped to lower and compress it. They were cutting a road in the snow. When we pass, don't make a sound. Leave the children to us. The leader of the protection team gave the order and passed it down. The people became nervous and nodded one after another. The children went first. Each child was carried by a member of the protection team. There was also a backup at the side. Oxygen masks connected to oxygen tanks were ready. 20 minutes passed. There was only one time when it was more dangerous. A large pile of snow fell from above. A member of the protection team and a person who was buried together went back and forth using an oxygen mask. They were dug out after a few minutes. As for the cold, how could they care about it? After passing through the most difficult valley, the road ahead was easy to walk. The snowmobiles were still parked outside and were not used. Huang Fuyechi let out a long breath and looked back. He still had a lingering fear. The 2 miles of the valley was covered in snow. It was really a separation between life and death. He did not know how long the protection team had dug. After walking for more than 10 miles in the snow, everyone felt relieved. There were more than 100 members of the protection team waiting in front. They took the children and sped up. Every 10 miles they advanced, there would definitely be a wave of reinforcements, which made him feel very relaxed. After 5 times, the people of Hehe River met up with the main group. Some were crying, some were laughing, and some were crying for Xiaobei everywhere. After receiving these people, Xiaobei and the others were finally not worried anymore. The rest was to wait. There was no need to worry about supplies. The snow could not keep falling. Besides planes, there were also groups of eagles or a sleigh team sent from Feng province. Chapter 8. The private room on the 3rd floor of Between the Clouds and the Water was very spacious. There were 3 large tables and plenty of space. Fang Yushan sat at a table close to the window. From the floor-to-ceiling glass, he could clearly see the houses in the distance, the snow on the houses, and the gray sky. If he wasn't the provincial governor of Yin Province, Fang Yushan would be very willing to warm up the wine and chat with a few friends in such an environment. But obviously, he didn't dare to do so. Even thinking about it made him afraid. He came to the banquet because he was worried that something had happened to the rich merchants in Yin Province. To be precise, something had happened to the merchants in Ruling County. As the administrative center of the province, Ruling County was both the county office and the office of the provincial office. It was considered the political and economic center of Yin Province, and a place where merchants liked to gather. The county magistrate of Ruling County didn't come because his position wasn't high enough. He was very sad. He belonged to the legendary category of people who didn't do good in their previous lives. There was a saying, evil in the previous life, evil in this life, evil in the past, evil in the past, evil in the present, evil in the past, 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 evil in the provincial capital. For example, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wen were once city officials in the provincial capital. Originally, they should have been the most powerful in the city, but the provincial and provincial governments also had offices there. As the highest official in Yin Province, Fang Yushan had a good life. Seeing the stern faces of the merchants today, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. He thought, is there nothing to sell? While Fang Yushan was thinking, the dishes were served. There was a plate of tofu, a plate of cold pork rind, a big pot of cabbage, stewed pork belly with vermicelli, a plate of pig intestines, a plate of bean sprouts mixed with tofu, a plate of stir-fried tenderloin with mushrooms, a plate of steamed pork knuckle, and a pile of bones with meat. Even if there were 8 dishes, there was no abalone, shark fin, sea cucumber, bear paw, venison, and so on. Fang Yushan let out a long breath. He was really afraid that if the merchants ordered those dishes, he would immediately get up and leave. Otherwise, if a provincial governor went to Between the Clouds and the Water to eat, that during a disaster, he would be tired of living. Even so, Fang Yushan was very careful when he looked at the waiter. He kept saying, "There's too much, I can't finish it." Provincial governor, you don't have to be so courteous with us. Today's dishes and wine will not be paid for by the province. In a while, there will be pork trotter soup. 8 dishes and 1 soup. It's not much. Look, there are 12 people at the table. We can all finish it. A person sitting next to Fang Yushan said enthusiastically. Fang Yushan recognized him. He was the president of the Silver State Chamber of Commerce, Mi Tsang Man. It was a name that could express happiness. Other than him, there were also 2 vice presidents, Qi Miao and Du Yao, as well as a group of directors. All of them were outstanding talents in various industries in the Yin province. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the Yin province's commodities were under their control. Fang Yushan glanced at the snow that was still falling outside the window and swept her gaze over the steaming hot dishes on the table. She said, "I don't think wine is necessary, right?" "Of course, Lord Fang. No matter what, you have to drink with us today. It's a very important matter." Mi Tsang Man continued to persuade with a smile. The waiter brought in a container to warm the wine. The strong aroma of the white wine assailed the nostrils. Frequent drinkers could tell that this wine was at least 50% alcohol by just smelling it. Qi Miao immediately received the waiter and poured the wine into the 3-chien cup in front of Fang Yushan. He stopped when it was full and poured it for someone else. "Lord Fang, we are very grateful that you have honored us with your presence today. Come. With such a snowy scene, let's toast." Mi Tsang Man picked up his wine and stood up to toast Fang Yushan. Without waiting for him to speak, he raised his head and downed the entire cup. He slowly exhaled and praised, "Good wine." The others followed suit. Seeing this, Fang Yushan could only pick up the wine cup and lightly sip it. About a chien worth of wine entered his mouth. He lightly smacked his lips twice and savored the aftertaste. He nodded and admitted that it was good wine. Mi Tsang Man hurriedly filled up the wine cup for the provincial governor and recommended the dishes. "Lord, please eat. I like to eat the big bones between the clouds and the water the most. It's better than the meat. I didn't know why before, but after thinking about it, maybe it's because of the hard work of the meat." As he spoke, he picked up a big bone and took a few bites, rubbing off the oil in his mouth. The others also picked up a bone and ate it, not paying attention to the other dishes. Fang Yushan wondered if the bones were really delicious. He stretched out his chopsticks and picked up a rib that looked easy to remove. He tore it with his teeth and put it into his mouth. After chewing slightly, his brows furrowed. Bones between the clouds and the water? If the bones between the clouds and the water were cooked to this taste, then it wouldn't be called between the clouds and the water. Other than salt, there seems to be nothing else, and it's not cooked yet. Look at the white foam on the bones. It probably hasn't even been heated once. Fang Yushan was very surprised. He didn't believe that the dishes between the clouds and the water would taste like this. With doubts, Fang Yushan picked up other dishes. After that, he was satisfied. The other 7 dishes tasted good, as expected of Between the Clouds and the Water, a well-known signature dish. Fang Yushan put down his chopsticks and picked up the wine cup. He looked at Mi Tsang Man. Mi Tsang Man was gritting his teeth, looking pained. When he saw the provincial governor looking over, he showed an embarrassed look. He grabbed the wine cup with his oily hand and said, "Lord, drink." Fang Yushan drank another mouthful and began to look around. Everyone seemed to be in pain and asked, "Not good?" "Lord, it's stuffed. I said before that cooking a big pot is different from cooking a small pot, but they didn't believe me. Sure enough, after cooking for a while, it's still not cooked." Vice President Du Yao complained. "Cook again." Mi Tsang Man scratched his teeth with his hand and blurted out 2 words. Fang Yushan was at a loss. He picked up the toothpick box on the table and pushed it over, asking, "You put in the salt too early, right?" "Yes." Mi Tsang Man clapped his hands and said, "It's true. It said that you should put in the salt after cooking the bones. Moreover, the bones should be cracked open as much as possible so that the meat will rot faster. Lord, you're amazing. I salute you." Fang Yushan picked up the wine cup and drank again. He wanted to see what this group of people wanted from him. Meat Song Man breathed out a mouthful of wine and smiled at Fang Yushan. Lord, I won't hide it from you. I invited you here today because I have something to discuss with you. Well said, well said. Fang Yushan smiled in response. Lord, I'm sure you know that it's snowing heavily in Yin Province. The flat areas are almost waist deep and the thicker areas are as tall as a person. We had a meeting last night and decided to discuss with you whether or not we don't need to open Chongping warehouse in Yin Province. Meat Song Man filled Fang Yushan's cup with wine as he spoke. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised the cup and toasted again. Fang Yushan was stunned. Then, his face filled with anger and his eyes widened. But after a while, he put on a smile. It wasn't a cold smile, but a very relaxed one. He leaned back on the chair and raised the cup to his mouth. He raised his head and drank it all. He closed his eyes and savored the aftertaste. After a while, Fang Yushan opened his eyes and said with a smile, Good wine, let's all drink. Drink, drink. Everyone obeyed. Boss me, President me, Fang Yushan spoke to me, Song Man politely. And all the presidents and directors, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but you've gone too far. It's snowing heavily in Yin Province. If you don't let the government open the warehouse, I won't say whether the troops stationed in Yin Province can raid your houses. I'll just say that even if you arrange for manpower in the army, how much money do you think you can make? How long can you block the news when you're making a fortune? Then, where will you run with the money? How long will it take for Xiao Bei and the others to find out? How long will it take to catch up with you? Eat. Fang Yushan stopped talking and began to pick up the food. This time, it was the merchant's turn to be stunned. They looked at each other and smiled. Vice President Qi Miao raised the cup. Lord, I toast you. You're a good official. Fang Yushan didn't move. Qi Miao drank the wine and refilled the cup. He held it in his hand again. Lord, Xiaobei's protection team is in Yin Province. If they know that there are merchants in Rulin County who have made a fortune, they'll send a vanguard team over in 3 days at most. It's only about 260 kilometers from where they said they were stationed to Rulin County. Although the snow has sealed off the road, they will definitely arrive within 3 days. If they had sent the small group of elites to protect them, before this time tomorrow, our heads will definitely fall to the ground. Xiao Bei and the others, who have the intention to kill, will not let us live for more than 24 hours. We have never doubted that they have the ability to do so. After he finished speaking, he finished the wine. Oh, afraid? Fang Yushan asked with a smile. He still didn't drink. Afraid? If you don't do anything wrong, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. Qi Miao was still pouring wine and holding it. Lord, you misunderstood. It's our fault that we didn't explain clearly. Yes, it's our fault. Meat Song Man followed. The others echoed. Qi Miao continued. Darren should know that there is only grain in Chongping warehouse in Yin Province, unlike in the capital. There is meat, oil, cloth, and other miscellaneous things that have been frozen for a long time. Therefore, there is not much use for you to open Chongping warehouse. As for us, although we're cheap merchants, we know that we have to do our best at crucial times. Everyone knows that the heavens are heartless. As for us in the Chamber of Commerce, we've never counted on the heavens. What does the heavens have to do with us? It's said that there's a way to go against the heavens. Therefore, we've decided to try. Lord, you know that every time there's a disaster, the people in the affected area suffer. Our Chamber of Commerce thinks, why? Because the heavens are angry? Bah! So what if the heavens are angry? The people in Kagwan County were still taken away by Xiao Bei. I don't know what's going on over there, but I believe that they'll be fine. Xiao Bei will settle them down. Normally, our Chamber of Commerce is very idle. Now that we have something to do, we'll go against the heavens. Thus, we came to discuss with you. We won't open Chongping warehouse, but we'll take care of the remaining 3 counties in Yin Province. You should be able to see that most of the dishes on the table are pork. Director Ding is the largest supplier of pigs in the province. Apart from Kagwan County, he has breeding bases in the other 3 counties. He's already sent a telegram for the other 2 counties to cooperate with the slaughter of pigs. Starting tomorrow morning, pork bone soup will be provided for free. At the same time, the price of each cut of pork will be reduced by 1 copper coin. Ding stood up and cupped his fists at Fan Yushan. Qi Miao continued, "My family sells vegetable oil. Starting tomorrow, soybean oil will be reduced by 1 copper coin. Vice President Du's family sells grain. Every bushel of rice will be reduced by 2 copper coins. A bag of 10 caddies of flour will be reduced by 3 copper coins. The President's family sells fine cotton and ready-made clothes. Starting tomorrow morning, cotton cloth will be reduced by 2 copper coins. Ready-made clothes will be given a 50% discount. As for the other industries managed by the directors, apart from luxury goods, starting tomorrow, the prices of Province's 3 counties will be reduced. At the same time, starting tomorrow, until the roads are reopened, there will be free steamed buns, porridge, soup, pancakes, and other breakfasts every morning. There will be free bone soup at noon. Every night, the villagers can participate in barbecue parties and watch programs. Of course, during the day, they have to work to repair the damaged houses in the 3 counties as soon as possible and clear the snow. We'll have to trouble my lord to arrange everything. The people from the Chamber of Commerce just want to let the heavens see a festive province. Let them see the cheerful faces of the children, and let them see how warm the hearts of people are in the cold snow. My lord, please." Qi Miao drank another cup of wine and praised, "It's delicious." At this time, Fan Yushan's face was full of shock. As he listened to Qi Miao, his eyes swept across the faces of the merchants. When Qi Miao finished drinking, he hurriedly stood up and cupped his hands to the people around him. He picked up the small wine pot and didn't pour it into the wine cup. He said to the crowd, "Everyone, you are all good people. This official was wrong. This official is deeply ashamed. I respect all of you. You are all loyal soldiers of the province, the backbone of the Great Tang. Cheers." The wine pot in front of him was 4 taels. He drank a little just now, so there was still more than 3 taels left. He drank all of it in one breath. It was much more satisfying than the small wine cup of 3 taels. Cheers. Everyone raised their cups at the same time. My lord, eat the vegetables and suppress the wine. Meat Song hurriedly urged. Fan Yushan threw down his chopsticks and grabbed a pig bone. He bit into it and began to tear it off. He nodded as he ate, vaguely saying that it was delicious. In fact, the bone was not fully cooked because there was only a little salt. There was even foam on it, but Fan Yushan thought that this was the most delicious thing. He believed that from tomorrow onwards, all the people of Province would praise this bone. He never thought that today would be like this. He didn't even dare to think about it. He only thought that because of the heavy snow, he needed to open the Chongping warehouse to release grain to suppress the sudden surge in grain prices. As long as there was food, the people would be able to persevere. He considered that if the prices of various goods were too high, he would ask the people of the Chamber of Commerce, "Do you want to provoke Xiaobao? Do you plan to go bankrupt after making a profit?" He thought that this could scare the people of the Chamber of Commerce and keep the prices of Province within a certain range. It would be fine after the roads were cleared. A large amount of relief materials would flood in, and the prices would not go up anymore. But from now on, Fan Yushan felt that he didn't need to think about scaring anyone with Xiaobao anymore. He just needed to go back to the Yamen and start to mobilize the people to work together. Then he would cooperate with the people of the Chamber of Commerce to mobilize various materials. After that, he would write a letter of commendation and send it to the imperial court. He just needed to tell the truth. This was the merchant of Province. This was the merchant of Province during the snow disaster. The people of Province would definitely be shocked tomorrow. They would never think that during the snow disaster, not only did the prices of Province not go up, but they also went down. There was free food in the morning, at noon, and at night, as well as entertainment. Under the pressure of the heavens, the adults would not despair, the elderly were still kind, and the children were still so happy. No, they shouldn't think like that. It should be that the adults had more hope for the future, the elderly were more kind, and the children were happier. But the meat on the bones did not rot. Fang Yushan, who had stuffed his mouth to his teeth, used his hand to scratch a few times and said to the people around him, "You have to continue cooking. It's best to add some coriander and chopped green onions on top of the soup." "You're right, sir. We will also prepare pepper and ginger. If you need it, add it yourself to dispel the cold." Meat Song Man added. Fang Yushan nodded satisfactorily. "Very good, very thoughtful. When I go back, I will write a memorial and submit it to the imperial court. We have to send the news first, so that the imperial court does not need to worry and can better allocate the materials. Tell me your names later." "Thank you, sir." Meat Song Man smiled. "We think so too. We hope that the imperial court will praise us in the newspapers." Yes, yes. Fang Yushan was certain. Thus, the host and guests enjoyed themselves and finished all the dishes on the table. Everyone went downstairs and went back to arrange things. The protection team, who were still camping by the Yellow River, was busy. They needed to circle the airdrop location. It was a very large area, and there was also an obvious thick line made by piling up tree branches. Someone was there to clear the falling snow from time to time to give the people in the sky a different visual difference from other places. Once the line was crossed, the airdrop could be dropped. There was no need to be accurate within a few dozen meters. The people of Hihijin soon got along well with the people of Kagwan County. The adults found things to do when they were not tired. The children went to rest after bathing. Even Nan Nan, who had always wanted to play with Xiao Bei, did not have the energy. She lay on the mattress, curled herself into a ball, and fell asleep very quickly. "I'm sleeping too. Wake me up when the plane arrives." Xiao Bei, who had been worried and busy the whole morning, could not take it any more. He took off his coat, wore a sweater, and got into bed. He covered his head and went to sleep. Everyone sleep, everyone sleep. Xiao Yuan was not in the mood to wait. He estimated that the plane would only arrive after a while. He learned from Xiao Bei and slept with his clothes on. Xiao Yuan and the rest did not force themselves to stay awake. One by one, they went to find a place to rest. The people of the Seedling Protection Team were still doing things according to their usual training. Some of them were completely relaxed, some of them were taking a nap, some of them were doing light work, and some of them were busy. With such adjustments, they could maintain a portion of them at their peak condition at any time and throw themselves into an emergency situation. It was the most common Level 3 combat readiness. The current heavy snow was not worth the Seedling Protection Team being in a state of Level 1 combat readiness. Therefore, they were very relaxed. The open and hidden sentries changed every hour. The kitchen provided food 24 hours a day. It was all too common for the Seedling Protection Team to repair the tents and clear the snow. However, in the eyes of the people of Kagwan County and Hihijin, the Seedling Protection Team was now in a very tense state. The people of the Seedling Protection Team were busy all the time. The hidden sentries hid themselves under the snow, the open sentries stood motionless, and the mobile sentries made squeaking sounds as they moved through the snow. There were also medical personnel checking the bodies of the people like themselves. Some people brought the children to class. The chefs who cooked would come every once in a while to ask if they were hungry and what they wanted to eat. There were also people doing fire prevention, moisture prevention, and collapse prevention checks. It was really too busy. It would tire them out. Some people could not stand it anymore. They thought that the Seedling Protection Team was working so hard for them. Therefore, they found Sun Mao and discussed with him whether they should arrange more work for them so that the Seedling Protection Team would not tire themselves out. Sun Mao really went to find someone to talk to. In the end, when he came back, he was full of smiles. He waved at more than 10 people who were the most worried and led them out. The 15 people who followed Sun Mao were puzzled. They came to the outside of a tent with Sun Mao and watched as Sun Mao gently lifted the curtain of the tent and gestured for them to take a look. One by one, they gathered there like thieves. There were a total of 10 beds in the tent. Each bed had a person sleeping in a different position. There were guns at the head of the bed, and there were also folded and taken off clothes. Through the gap, there was no smell of sweat or mud, nor was there any smell of feet. Instead, there was a faint floral fragrance. It gave people the feeling that the tent was clean and tidy. The seedling protection team members slept comfortably and peacefully. After the 15 people had taken a look, Sun Mao led them through the tents one by one. These were all the people who were resting. After walking through dozens of tents, Sun Mao stopped and said to the people who followed him, "See, there are still many people sleeping. Follow me and take a look." Sun Mao went through a few more rows of tents and lifted the curtain for them to take a look. The people inside were also sleeping, but they did not take off their clothes. Furthermore, they were holding guns. As if sensing that someone was looking in, the people facing the curtain opened their eyes and looked over. They smiled and narrowed their eyes again. After looking through more than a dozen tents, Sun Mao said, "They're not busy. Follow me." The 15 people continued to follow him. This time, they could already hear voices outside the tent. Some people were singing softly, some were telling jokes, and some were reciting something under their breaths. Just as Sun Mao was about to open a gap, the person inside spoke. "I'm going to take a walk outside and see if there's anything. When I come back, take out the chess pieces if you want to play." When the voice came, the curtain was lifted from the inside. A person holding a notebook and a pen walked out. When he saw Sun Mao and the others, he was stunned at first. Then he said, "County Magistrate Sun, are you here to play chess?" "No, I'm just looking." "I'm curious," Sun Mao quickly replied. Look around. If there's anything you don't understand, come and ask. Everyone has nothing to do. Remember not to bring open flames into the tents. Some of them have firearms and oil. If we're not careful, we'll all be in the sky." After saying this, the person walked away. The 15 people following Sun Mao fell silent. After a while, Huang Fuyeshian, the Guanjin of Hehijin, muttered to Xiahou Yi, who was beside him. So they didn't take it seriously. "I thought that they would be very nervous and tired in such heavy snow. Who would have thought that I was wrong? Isn't that so? If it wasn't for the fact that it's still snowing, and that we've walked so far, I would have thought that we were on a vacation. It looks like a vacation. But look at the intensity of their patrolling. It's even more intense than the other regular local troops we've seen before. What a contrast." Xiahou Yi frowned and said in puzzlement. Sun Mao, who was beside him, interjected, "What else could it be? They're strong." The low-intensity arrangement of the protection team is the high-intensity arrangement of the other local troops. Someone once told me that the people of the protection team are very efficient. The individual quality of the soldiers is strong, and the teamwork is good. Everyone in the team knows how to plan. They don't just listen to the orders of the higher-ups. Each of them knows the overall goal of the team, followed by the battalion goal, and then the team goal. They will adjust when they do their own things to cooperate with the work of others. For example, when there are 10 people in a team and 2 people suddenly leave, the other 8 people will adjust on their own and share the work of the 2 people who left. When they will return to their original positions. They don't have to wait for the leader to find out about the situation and think of a way to arrange the order. In other words, each of them knows the strategic intention and the tactical arrangement. They can assist other people at any time. They can also become the command center in an instant. If there's an emergency and the overall formation is disrupted, they will immediately form a new formation. Huang Fuyeshio finished the sentence in surprise. Doesn't that mean that each of them has the commanding ability of a battalion commander and above? Xiahou Yi was also surprised. Shouldn't they? Sun Mao asked with a smile. He continued, "How dare they join the protection team if they don't have some ability? Someone told me that they are not just pure combatants. They can form the framework of a country. We all know that the protection team is the most powerful team in the Tang Empire. It's just that we haven't understood it in detail before. The people don't have the idea of knowing everything about the protection team. They only need to know that they are omnipotent, right? Xiaoho nodded. Yes, now that you mention it, I really feel that way. After thinking about it carefully, I realize that the protection team is actually the most familiar and the most mysterious team. Familiar, because we know that the protection team is the most solid support. Mysterious, because we don't know how they operate internally. Thinking about it, I feel that it's very interesting. Don't you guys wonder? Why is that so? As soon as he said that, everyone fell into deep thought. It was really like what he said. The protection team seemed to be around everyone. When children played war games, there would always be people who would rush to play the role of the protection team. However, no child had specifically thought about understanding the specific division of labor of the protection team. Every child had their own understanding of the protection team. However, no one had specifically asked about how the protection team was like. The internal operation and coordination method of the protection team was actually selectively forgotten by everyone just like that. It was unbelievable. What went wrong? When everyone was thinking about it, some people suddenly felt cold all over, as if their thoughts were being controlled by someone to make them forget some things. No, that's not right. A voice suddenly sounded behind everyone. Everyone was startled and could not help but turn around to look. Su Yilong was here. He could not sleep. Coincidentally, there were a few questions that he did not know how to answer. He planned to come over and learn from the person who came up with the strategy in the protection team. So he strolled over here. The person who could come up with strategies in the protection team was not bad at all. Sun Mao heaved a sigh of relief and introduced. He's Su Yilong. His grandfather has a very high position in Jixin Courtyard. He told me a lot of things before. He's a few years older than Xiaobei and the rest. He follows Xiaobei and the rest, accompanying them to play and learning at the same time. Oh, everyone expressed that they understood. Su Yilong was not in a hurry to find someone to ask questions. Instead, he said to everyone, "Your perspective is wrong. The protection team has never been mysterious. It's just that many people are not willing to waste time to understand it. In everyone's eyes, the protection team is not a combat team. It's a sublimated stability and happiness. It's an umbrella in the rain and snow, a shade under the scorching sun. Wherever the protection team appears, everyone can sleep in peace, eat in peace, and not be afraid of anything. Think about it carefully. What is this? This is home, and this is parents. It can be said that most people are familiar with their own father or mother. However, how many people specifically conduct a rational analysis of their parents' psychology and behavior? Many children imitate their parents when they play house, but who can completely reflect their parents' actions and psychology? Everyone, think about it carefully. Do you really understand your parents? Anyway, I can't. Every time I want to make a record, fill in the form of my father's or mother's behavior, and then apply behavioral psychology, I feel very awkward. It makes me feel unfamiliar with my parents. I feel disgusted and resisted from the bottom of my heart. It's the same for the protection team. It's not that everyone can't understand, but they're not willing to. Subconsciously, they make us refuse to analyze and dissect the details of the protection team. We're more willing to think that the protection team is the closest to us. It's the strongest. It's my support and my shelter. Others can't scold the protection team, and others can't belittle the protection team. Otherwise, it's insulting me, just like who scolds my parents. Understand? It's a very simple principle. You guys continue with your work. I'm going to ask a few questions. Su Yilong analyzed, waved at Sun Mao and the rest, and went into the tent. Sun Mao and the rest looked at each other. He's indeed knowledgeable. Huang Fu Yeshio sighed. He's right. After thinking about it, it's really like that. Haha. Xiaoho no longer felt afraid. So the protection team has always been in this position in my heart? Sun Mao rubbed his hands. The rest nodded. It seemed that it was really simple. When facing the protection team, they already treated themselves as children. However, this was not shameful. The protection team was very good as a parent and had never disappointed them. It was just like how they did not feel the slightest bit of fear even though the snow was still falling. Do you still want to continue watching? Sun Mao asked. Everyone thought about it and shook their heads. There was nothing to watch. It was fine as long as they knew that the protection team was not tired. Why don't we go to the kitchen and take a look? What are we eating tonight? Xiahou Yi suggested. Sun Mao agreed. That works too. It'll be good if we can have braised pork ribs. The last time we had braised pork ribs was a month ago. How can what you eat be the same as what the protection team eats? Huang Fu Yeshio teased. A person from Kagwang County laughed and said, "It's the same. The Zhang family and Wang family sent people to our county to help us get rich. There's a chef among them. What do you think?" "Why don't I have one?" Huang Fu Yeshio asked enviously. "Because you didn't send a telegram," another person from Kagwang County replied with a smile. Huang Fu Yeshio looked at Sun Mao and asked, "They'll come if we send a telegram?" "Of course. How can parents not care when their children are saved? At that time, I sent a telegram at the end of the first year. They came at the beginning of the second year. It looked like they were going to have a good life. However, a heavy snow came and all the livestock and poultry were brought here. We'll just give them to the protection team. When we come back, we'll be familiar with them. It's simple." Sun Mao seemed to be comforting himself, but also seemed to be saying it for the people from Kagwang County to hear. The people from Kagwang County felt that it was a pity. However, when they thought about how they were alive and already knew how to raise livestock, it was fine to spend a little more effort. Everyone went around in circles as they talked. They were almost confused. After asking a few people on guard duty, they finally found a place to cook. There were more than 20 big stoves. There were a few fires that were not extinguished. There were pots on them. Some were boiling water, while others were boiling soup. At the side, there were a few people dissecting freshly slaughtered pigs. A few cooks sat at the table under the shed and ate. It looked like there was wine too. Sun Mao and the others arrived. Before they could say anything, a cook at the table stood up and greeted them warmly. "County Magistrate Sun, you're here? I was just about to send someone to look for you. Come over here and sign the contract." As he spoke, the cook pulled Sun Mao to the table. A stack of papers was placed on the table. Sun Mao did not look at them. He asked in confusion, "What contract?" "A sales contract. Kagwang County brought a lot of live poultry and livestock. We'll buy them. There are two parts. One is the adult livestock and poultry. We'll pay directly. The other part is the cubs. I don't think they can be brought back alive. We'll kill them too. When the snow stops, we'll give you more cubs. You can continue to raise them. Just treat it as selling a batch of poultry and livestock." As the cook spoke, he passed a pen to Sun Mao for him to sign. There was also ink for his fingerprint or the county magistrate seal. Sun Mao tried to hide. No. I'm not selling. I'm giving it to the protection team. How can I take this money? How are you trying to trap me?" The other people from Kagwang County nodded vigorously in support of the county magistrate. Huang Fu Yetsue and Xiahou Yi also felt that they should not take money. They ate and stayed in the other party's tent. Furthermore, the other party was the one who saved them. How could they accept money? They would be criticized behind their backs. "What?" The cook glared at Sun Mao. "It's not us who bought it. According to the imperial court's policy, the losses of the people in the affected areas are borne by the imperial court. After the disaster, the people there can continue to develop. Compared to the compensation paid by the Tang Empire, the people who can continue to develop steadily will create more wealth. It's not pity, it's to better maintain the speed of economic growth." Another cook chimed in. "Your Kagwang County suffered a disaster. If there was no rescue, people would have died. Now, it's the livestock and poultry that were lost. If we compensate you with money, You can buy daily necessities and compensate your cubs and poultry seedlings. You won't have idle labor to waste. Our protection team is eating for free because this portion of livestock and poultry is calculated according to the loss, and not according to the loss. It's our own account. Huang Fu Yetsue seemed to understand. He asked, "Are you saying that the protection team is falsifying the accounts to cheat the imperial court? How is it false? It's really impossible to bring the livestock and poultry out alive. Even if the snow stops, the roads are difficult to get through. When the people of Kagwan County go back, they have to rebuild their houses. How can they take care of them? Therefore, losses are inevitable. It's just that we eat them, not throw them into the snow to freeze. For example, if we didn't bring the livestock and poultry out and left them in the county, wouldn't they all freeze to death now? We should compensate them, right? When we go back, won't the people in the county take out the frozen ones to eat?" The cook explained. Huang Fu Yetsue felt that it made sense. He replied, "Now that you mention it, it seems to be true. That's right. We even took advantage of them. Otherwise, the Kagwan County would eat the food themselves. Then, they would get a subsidy." The cook explained further. "Is it the same?" Xiahou Yi felt that something was wrong. Sun Mao also felt the same. After thinking for a while, he said, "Didn't we eat at your place too? And you even treat us." "County Magistrate Sun, you haven't changed your mind. Seeing a doctor has always been free, right?" the cook asked. Sun Mao nodded. The cook continued, "Look, seeing a doctor is the policy of the Tang Empire. It's not that we have to pay extra. Next is the food. Normally, when we pass by Kagwan County, you take out the food for us to eat. Then, we will leave something for you. Usually, the value of the food is higher than what you give us. This is the normal behavior of the seedling protection team, right?" "That's true. The people of the Tang Empire all know that when you pass by, the people treat you to food and you leave something behind. Everyone will treat it as a gathering and then take advantage of you. But the livestock are not given to you by us. It's the country's subsidy. Now, you are giving it to us for free." Sun Mao emphasized. "How is it for free? If the livestock are not brought out, they will freeze to death. Then, you can eat them when you go back. What we are eating now is what you should eat. Aren't the frozen livestock given to us by you? Will the imperial court accept your frozen livestock?" The cook argued back and forth. Sun Mao frowned. "But if the imperial court doesn't accept the frozen livestock, they will definitely give us a discount and then deduct it from the subsidy. That's because we eat meat to improve our standard of living. The imperial court was like this in the past. But your livestock were eaten by us. You didn't eat it yourself. Of course, the imperial court will subsidize you," the cook said. Huang Fu Yechi added, "Doesn't that mean that the seedling protection team is taking advantage of you? The imperial court fully subsidizes, but you ate the food. Kagwan County didn't lose anything. What about you? Didn't we also provide food to the people of Kagwan County? It's the same as before. How are we taking advantage of you?" The cook explained. "No, there's something wrong here. I keep feeling that something is missing. Let me think what's missing." Huang Fu Yechi was in pain. He pulled at his hair and thought hard. At this time, Su Yilong wandered over. She was hungry and wanted to bake a pastry with chili sauce. Coincidentally, she wandered into this kitchen and didn't go to other kitchens. It was a coincidence. He also happened to hear what Huang Fu Yechi and the cook were talking about. He smiled and helped. Don't count. The seedling protection team actually ate the imperial court's food. It's not a big deal because the seedling protection team paid for it. Many officials know that the imperial court won't give a single cent to the Zhang family and Wang family, no matter how much money Zhang family and Wang family paid. They make their own official robes, give their own salaries, and supplement their own benefits. They can even make their own official seals. That's why Xiaobei's clothes are always overdone. Of course, the prefectural soldiers are even more overdone. It's just that no one cares. Then my Kagwan County can't take money. Sun Mao couldn't accept it. The cook said, "Are you stupid? This money isn't for my family. It's from the imperial court. Although the imperial court doesn't give my family money, a part of my family's money belongs to the imperial court. To be precise, it's two parts. One part is provided by Xiao Bei and the rest for the Tang Dynasty's children, in exchange for tax benefits. The other part is provided by my family for the other citizens, in exchange for the rights to manage the tourist sites given by the imperial court. My family won't use this money. It's for you. If you don't take it from us, we'll hand it over to the imperial court and the imperial court will give it to you. What's the point? Is there?" Huang Fuyechi, Xia Hoi, and Sun Mao asked Su Yilong together. Su Yilong proved, "Yes, but Zhang family and Wang family always suffer losses when they exchange with the imperial court. They always take out a portion of their money to subsidize the citizens. In the past, it was in the name of the imperial court, but now it doesn't matter. I don't think about this. Just use it. Cultivate well and speed up the county's economic development. Let every family live a good life. With more money, more taxes will be paid. Brother Xiaobao and Sister Cuckoo don't care about that bit of money. There are other people who donate. They take care of it and don't give the imperial court any income." All right. Sun Mao was very touched. Xiaobao and Cuckoo really lost a lot. They also got it. Not everyone can make every family in the Tang Dynasty set up a longevity tablet. No one dares to think so, Su Yilong said enviously. Of course. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can't be lost, Sun Mao said. Sign. The chef pushed the contract over. It was the imperial court's disaster subsidy. It's too expensive. Sun Mao objected once he saw it. It's not expensive. There's also the cost of building houses and roads. It's a premium. We won't give you any other subsidies, the chef explained. Sun Mao said, "Oh," and picked up the pen to sign. He took out an official seal from his chest and stamped it. He took a stack of notes. When he returned, he would distribute them from family to family. He didn't dare to keep any for himself. Su Yilong got a flatbread. She spread chili sauce on it and roasted it on the fire. Chapter 9. 16 planes came, dropped some fuel, turned around, and flew away. The next trip would be easier than this one. The pilot had already memorized the general route. As long as it didn't snow too heavily, even without the guidance of Shui Yun's family, the planes could easily find the location. After all, there were so many tents and people wearing brightly colored clothes. At night, there was no moon and no stars. When the east was slightly bright and the fine snow was still dancing, the guardians of Rulin County opened the door and told the children not to go out. Naturally, there was no need to go to school. No one thought that school would still be open on a snowy day. The adults put money in their arms, grabbed rice bags, flour bags, or baskets on their arms, and worriedly walked out of the door. They didn't care about sweeping the snow that was more than their calves, and they didn't care about the snow that was pressing down on the roof beams. The people came out worriedly and hurried to the grain store, the butcher shop, and the vegetable oil shop. Walking in the snow, they saw traces of other people's footsteps. They became more and more anxious, afraid that they wouldn't be able to catch up. Sun Laowu lived near the east gate of the county. Although it was called the gate, it was actually only a doorway. The door had long been lost, and the function of the gate was almost lost. If it wasn't so difficult to tear down the wall, it might have been dug up and left there as a hindrance. Sun Laowu had 2 children at home. His parents didn't live together, and he was with his younger brother. He said that he would bring them back after the new year. He also had a wife who worked as hard as the men, but she fell ill because of the snow. He thought that the school wouldn't be open, so he left the 2 children to take care of his mother. He had to buy noodles and go home to make shredded meat noodles for his wife. He remembered that some time ago he heard that the doctor said that one shouldn't eat eggs when feverish. It was best to eat noodles, which was easy to digest. There was soup and shredded meat, so the nutrition could keep up. After drinking half a bowl of soup, one would sweat and help to expel the heat. Sun Laowu had a deep impression of this, but the last bit of noodles at home had been eaten yesterday. The wind blew with the snow, and he couldn't go out at night. It wasn't clear in the morning, but at least the wind and snow had subsided. He had to buy noodles and go to the clinic to get medicine. He wasn't worried about the medicine. The great Tang had free medical care. When one went to a place and said that one was sick, there would be a doctor who would give the medicine. When one returned home, they would take the medicine according to the doctor's instructions. If one was seriously ill, they could even invite the doctor to their home or find someone nearby to break down the door and carry their wife back. What he was worried about was the price of rice and flour in the county town. The heavy snow had caused the disaster. Whenever there was a disaster, the price would increase by several times. The more severe the disaster, the longer the time, the more the price of things would increase. There had never been a difference. If I hadn't sold that old horse last month, I might have been able to exchange it for more food. What a pity, what a pity. Sun Laowu waded through the snow, with 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. As he walked forward, he saw more and more footprints. His chest was so stuffy that he couldn't breathe. At home, there was a horse that had been discarded from the army. It had been 3 years. Normally, it was used for farming and plowing in dry fields. When it was discarded, the horse was already old. After 3 years of hard work, it seemed that its body could not hold on any longer. When he said that he would wait for the horse to die and bury it, he really couldn't bear to part with the money. When he said that he would kill it for meat, he couldn't bear to use the knife. He had no choice but to sell it last month. If he didn't sell it when the weather turned cold, he wouldn't be able to afford to raise it. Who would be willing to use good materials to raise a horse that wouldn't be able to work next year? If he sold it for meat, he would get 500 copper coins. Now that he thought about it, it was a loss. If he had kept it until now, even if he had to sacrifice some of the materials, he would be able to get at least 1,200 copper coins. Sun Laowu rubbed his nose that was red from the cold, and then used his hand to wipe off the snow that had melted into water on his face. He then rubbed it against the inside of his collar to prevent it from being blown by the wind. Even so, when the wind swept the snow on his face, he still felt a burning pain. It was as if a small knife was slicing his face. But Sun Laowu couldn't care less. He used all his strength to push himself forward. He could feel that his sweat had soaked his shoes. He didn't dare to stop. If he stopped, his feet would be frostbitten. Moreover, he still had to line up at the shop that sold noodles. He still remembered that 10 years ago, during the flood at the beginning of spring, the price of the rice in the grain shop changed every day. Later on, the price changed every day. The first time he bought a caddy of rice, it was 3 copper coins. The next time he bought it, it was 4 copper coins. It was unreasonable. There were people waiting to buy it. If he dared to make trouble, there would be people guarding the door with sticks ready to beat him. This time, it was snowing heavily. Even if the line in front of the grain shop was not full, there would still be a tail. If he was late, he might be able to get a higher price. After huffing and puffing for half an hour, he turned a corner and looked up. Sure enough, there were many people lining up. Looking at them, they knew that the price would increase, but they didn't know how much it would increase today. God, please don't increase the price of the Du family's shop too much. Thinking about this, Sun Laowu took a deep breath and coughed twice. He nervously walked over. When he saw the expression of the people in the line, he was puzzled. The people in the line who wanted to buy rice did not have anxious expressions on their faces. It was as if they were celebrating a festival and were chatting in the snow. Taking a closer look, he recognized the 2 people at the back. He hurriedly walked over and asked the 2 people who were happily chatting, "Uncle Chi, Donkey Dan, what's the price?" The Uncle Chi he was talking about did not have the surname Chi. It was just that every day he would carry a chessboard and look for people to play chess with. He had many children and lived a rich life. As for Donkey Dan, he was younger than him by half a year. He had called him Donkey Dan since he was young. He had forgotten his full name. After all, everyone was used to calling him Donkey Dan. "Oh, it's Laowu. Is everything okay at home? Did your 2 naughty buns go to school?" Uncle Chi smiled and greeted Sun Laowu when he saw him. My wife is sick. The two good-for-nothings are guarding the house. It's snowing and the school is not open. Sun Laowu replied. Before he could ask again, Donkey Dan opened his mouth. Fifth brother, who said that the school is not open. This morning, my family was passing by the school. When I went to take a look, I saw that many children had gone to sweep the snow in the courtyard. The cook who teaches biology at the school had made a big pot of chili soup for the children to eat after they finished their chores. When I went home, I chased my two wastrels out and went to school too. It's open? Then, in a while, I will go home to take care of my wife. Let Lauda and Lao Air go too. If they stay at home, they will get sick. I say, how much is the shop selling today? Sun Laowu finished talking about the children's school and asked about the price. At this time, the Du family's shop shouted, Don't buy too much. I don't know all of you. Go home and get your household registration. Buy according to the population. Half a bushel of rice per mouth, 13 copper coins per bushel. 1 bag of noodles per mouth, 21 copper coins per bushel. If you buy too much, you will buy after you eat. Old Ho's third son scrammed to the side. What do you want? Hearing the shout, Sun Laowu was stunned. He raised his hand and touched his forehead. His forehead was cold. He then placed his hand on his neck. His hand was cold. He muttered, Am I sick? Fifth brother, were you feeling unwell? Donkey Dan asked with concern. He thought that if his fifth brother was sick, there would be a sick person at home. His life would be difficult. My ears? Why do I hear 13 copper coins per bushel of rice? I bought it 2 days ago. It was 15 copper coins. Also, when I asked, it was 24 copper coins per bushel. Sun Laowu was puzzled. Sigh. I was wondering what was going on. I didn't hear you wrong. It's gone down. Isn't this a snow disaster? All the merchants in the province are plotting something against the heavens. You came out too late. Just now, people from other places were talking about how, in the entire Ruling County, apart from luxury goods, all other goods have been reduced in price. Rice is 2 copper coins per bushel. No matter what kind of rice it is, flour is 3 copper coins per bushel. No matter what kind of flour it is, oil is 1 copper coin per bushel. That's nothing. Cotton cloth is 2 copper coins per bushel, and ready-made clothes are half the price. Donkey Dan beamed with joy as he spoke to Sun Laowu. The more he spoke, the happier he became. He even pointed a finger at the sky. Sun Laowu blinked and raised his hand to touch Donkey Dan's forehead. His hand was slapped away by the other party. Fifth brother, I'm not sick. Don't touch my head. Beside him, Uncle Chi chuckled and said to Sun Laowu, This old man heard from others that when you buy meat, they charge you 1 copper coin per bushel. A bushel the width of 2 fingers is half the length of a piece of meat. Don't expect meat as thick as a pinky finger to be reduced by 1 copper coin per bushel. Also, you can't make it. You have a wife to take care of at home. Go home and get a jar and a bowl of bone broth. Tell the person who scoops the broth that there's a patient at home and can bring you some minced meat. There's also free buns, porridge, soup, and biscuits. You can't eat them. If you want to eat, you have to work. There's bone broth at noon, and you have to work as well. At night, there's a barbecue party, and you have to take care of people. You can't eat them. You're so sick that you can't eat them. As he spoke to Uncle Chi, he shook his head regretfully. However, this caused Sun Laowu to be stunned once again. He turned in a circle and looked around. It was Ruling County. He pinched his legs, but it didn't hurt. He pinched his face, but it still didn't hurt. He was cold and numb. Sun Laowu rubbed his neck. This is strange. What are they trying to do? They can make money, but they don't want it. They just have to lower the price and sell it at the original price. We've already received their kindness, but they just have to lower the price. It's strange. Sun Laowu really couldn't understand. Other merchants would wait until there was a disaster to raise the price and sell for more money. Even if they were secretly cursed at for being black-hearted, they would still get the money. Why did the people from the Chamber of Commerce in the prefecture insist on lowering the price? Could it be that they were sick? In front of the three was a man dressed like a scholar. He also had a small bag of flour in his hand. After listening to the conversation of the three for a while, he turned his head and smiled contentedly. Don't you understand? They're just bored and want to find some other entertainment in the market. How can I not hear what it is? Speak properly. Why are you pretending to be a scholar? Look at you, you're mixing words like literary and literary. Chibo's eyes widened. In any case, he had studied for 2 years. The thing he couldn't stand the most was to hear people say such things in front of him. If he had the ability, he would write a memorial and send it to the palace. Oh, I know, Chibo. It's like this. Those merchants usually don't have any pressure when it comes to business. Isn't this close to the river? It's convenient to transport things, and the overall price of things is taken care of. Xiaobao and Cuckoo don't let the prices of things be too messy. Now that it's snowing, they can't find anything else to do. They're going against the heavens. Who doesn't know that the prices of things in a disaster area will increase? They insist on lowering the prices. Isn't this going against the heavens? They say that when there's a disaster, the lives of the common people will not be good. They take out free food and have us help each other do the work. They repair the houses, clear the snow, and eat barbecue at night. It's lively and lively. They don't want to live in a desolate environment. There's another thing. I found out. They want to be in the newspapers. While it's snowing, they want to do good deeds. They want the capital's newspapers to write about them. When Xiaobao and Cuckoo see it, they'll be satisfied. When the emperor sees it, won't he be happy as well? Being praised by either the emperor or Xiaobao and Cuckoo is worth it. More importantly, they don't dare to raise the prices. They have Chongpingsang in the prefecture. Once the prices change, Chongpingsang will open. Chongpingsang is full. It's not like in the past, when there was a warehouse open. When it was opened, it was either missing more than half of the food or it was completely rotten. There was even sand mixed in. Now, who would dare to touch Chongpingsang? 100 heads wouldn't be enough to chop off. Once Chongpingsang is open, would they dare to spend a lot of money to buy it all out? Xiaobei's team is less than 300 miles away. Once they know, they'll turn around and enter the city to start killing people. As for the charges, such as hoarding, inflating prices, and so on, there's no need. Do Xiaobei and the others need to be charged for killing people? Do they? Sun Laowu, do you think so? Sun Laowu shook his head. No, there's no need. If they want to kill, then kill. At this time, many people nearby were listening and nodding their heads. Indeed, if Xiaobei and the others acted together, they would immediately become the Tang Empire's patrol officers. They could kill corrupt officials and bully kings. Anyone who was caught by them would be punished with 5 ranks. That's right. They're afraid of Xiaobei and the others. Since that's the case, why don't we curry favor with them? We know that they're benevolent and righteous. The people in the capital also know that they're good businessmen. If they lose money, they'll feel better. The cultured person concluded. Another person suddenly said, if that's the case, we don't have to be grateful to them. Bah! Do you believe that if they hear this, the prices of everything will increase tomorrow? Who cares what they think? It's true that you've benefited. Touch your chest and see if you still have a conscience. If you're not grateful, then you deserve to starve or freeze to death. Uncle Chi spat a mouthful of phlegm on the shoes of the other person. After he finished speaking, the phlegm froze and some snow frothed on the shoes. The person who was scolded moved his feet in the shoes to get rid of the frozen phlegm. Seeing that there was still a mark on the shoes, he said with a bitter face, I believe. I was wrong. These are new shoes. I've only worn them twice. After he finished speaking, he squatted down and rubbed a handful of snow, wetting that area. After that, he froze again, and no trace of phlegm could be seen. Let's go forward. There's no one in front. When we get home, we still have to make shredded pork noodles for our wives. Oh, right, I'll get some bone soup. Sun Laowu urged. The crowd moved forward again, and there were only 6 people left in front of him. When it was his turn, he gave the same 10 bag of noodles to the waiter. After paying the bill, he carried the bag of noodles and walked home excitedly. For a moment, he felt that the wind was not so cold, and the snow was not so cold. The snow on the roof and on the tree branches reflected the whole world in a silvery white, and he felt that it was bright and clear. It wasn't only one county in the entire state that was like this. 2 other counties were doing the same. The people in these 3 counties felt that the weather had changed. Those who didn't have extra food at home were no longer anxious. The rush to buy food that was supposed to happen after the disaster didn't happen at all. The commoners lived their lives as usual, or even better than usual. During the day, they would eat free food and then be organized to work. At night, they would gather together and set up a stage. They would watch the performances of people who knew some music and dance, as well as crosstalk and storytelling. At the same time, they would eat free roasted meat. It was clearly a disaster, but their lives were better. The people in the trading company breathed a sigh of relief. They were also afraid that the villagers would line up every day to buy cheap goods. If they continued to buy like that, the warehouse would be empty in a few days. Now, they were buying when they needed it. They could easily wait for the goods to come from elsewhere. They understood that when the snow disaster passed and everything returned to normal, the same goods at the same price would be bought by the villagers. Even if they had to walk 2 more steps, they would still buy from them. On the contrary, the merchants in the state took advantage of the situation to raise their prices. Later on, when they were unlucky, not only did they not sell the goods they raised, but they were also sent a telegram by the provincial governor, Fang Jishan, to the capital. He didn't deliberately complain. He only said that some merchants were selling goods at a low price to calm the disaster and to reassure the people. There were also some merchants who wanted to raise their prices, but no one bought them. He only said a few merchants. He believed that the emperor in the capital wouldn't care. The Tang Bank would send people to investigate. This involved the stability and credibility of the state. In addition, between the clouds and the water was also in the state. They would also submit detailed information. The merchants who raised their prices wouldn't be punished, but it would be difficult for them to get a loan from the bank in the future. Not only would they need to use collateral, but the collateral would also be further valued. The loan amount would also be limited, and the interest would increase accordingly. They couldn't even question them. The bank would tell them that their credit rating had been lowered. They knew why. If they didn't want to get a loan from the bank, they would have to go to the loan sharks. At the same time, their lives in the state wouldn't be good. The merchants would boycott them. The people wouldn't buy from them at the same price. If they didn't lower their prices, they wouldn't be able to sell their goods. If they lowered their prices, the merchants would also lower their prices. Even if they lost money, the merchants could easily get low interest or even interest-free loans from the bank. What would they use to support themselves? Even if they left the state and went to other places to do business, they would have to register with the local government. The local government would ask the Tang Bank about their credit limit. When the time came, they would have to extend the examination time. The tax officials would check the account books every few days. They couldn't reason with them. They didn't need to say anything else. They just had to mention that they raised their prices because of the snow disaster. At this time, morality and credibility were very important. Even at the time of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, merchants without credit couldn't survive. As long as there was a credit crisis, whether it was buying or selling goods in the future, they would be affected. When buying goods, they would have to pay in full first. When selling goods, they would have to wait for the goods to arrive first. After the inspection, they would have to find a bank for a loan. The bank would repeatedly check their application. For the same house, if someone else lent you 10 million yuan, you would get 7 million yuan. Someone else would get 30% of the profit, you would get 50% of the profit. The incident in the state of Yin caused a sensation. The news was published in newspapers everywhere. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan personally praised them. They praised their actions. but told them to act according to their abilities. They said that they were trustworthy merchants with a conscience and thought for the country and the people. With this evaluation, they made a profit. Countless people were envious. They were even looking forward to their own places being affected. When the time came, they could learn how to do it. If it really didn't work, they could open branches in areas that were prone to disasters. Xiao Bei and the others also received the news that the telegram was working. They didn't know why it didn't work before, but they could only attribute it to the weather. The snow has lessened. After a while, the road will be clear. We can continue to move forward. My potatoes, if we go any later, they will sprout. Zhang Xiaobei looked at the contents of the telegram about Ruling County. She wasn't thinking about the situation there, but about the potatoes. She wanted to see how the potatoes looked like when they were harvested. There would be many people with picks and rakes digging in the ground. After digging once, they would feel the soil with their hands. They would still be able to find the potatoes. They would need to do it a few times before they could roughly dig out the potatoes, but there would definitely be some that they missed. Big potatoes could be used to make many things. The best were small potatoes. They couldn't be fried, and they couldn't be left to sprout. They could only be boiled with salt. After they were boiled, there would be a layer of salt frost on the outside, and they would be peeled and eaten as snacks. If they were late, the people there would dig out the potatoes. They couldn't wait for her to go over to watch, even if the emperor went over. Otherwise, they would sprout directly in the ground. Xiao Bei was looking forward to being able to move faster, but Xiao Yuan dampened his enthusiasm. I think it will take at least a month. How can the road be cleared after the snow stops? Have you forgotten what the county records? After a heavy snowfall, some places can't contact the outside world for 9 months. The snow we encountered isn't light either. Unless the sun shines hard, look at the sky. The day is gray, and there are no stars at night. Let's wait. Xiao Yuan, don't you think you should be looking forward to it with me? And not thinking of the worst? Xiao Bei stared at Xiao Yuan with his eyes wide open. If I always agree with you, you will easily take the wrong path. I'm doing this for your own good. Of course, I also wish to leave as soon as possible. It's best if my brother and sister send someone to take over our work. Xiao Yuan felt goosebumps all over from being stared at, so he finally compromised. Xiao Yuan, you are the best, Xiao Bei said. Xiao Yuan chuckled. Thank you. I think so too. That's why I'll give you all the snacks from the airdrop next time. You carry them and even say that I'm taking the wrong path. You are dragging me down. Did I take the wrong path? I can't walk anymore. Humph. Xiao Bei glared at Xiao Yuan, turned around, and entered the tent. He looked at the map to see which path he could take when advancing. Xiao Yuan sat alone outside and looked at the snow-covered river. He muttered to himself, we should build a plane that can fly farther. When it's heavy, it can fly straight to the destination. Traveling on land is just too time-consuming. Perhaps they will leave behind a moo of potatoes for Xiao Bei to play with? I think I should send a telegram to get them to leave it behind. Even half a moo is fine. Potatoes and meat are best eaten when stewed together. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. There was another morning court session in the capital. Li Longji was sitting at the front, listening to the Minister of Revenue, Wang Bei, talk about the expenditure of the imperial treasury. Ever since deflation occurred, the banks had lowered their reserve funds and interest rates. The national treasury had also spent a lot of money. They had repaired roads, plazas, canals, sea dikes, etc. Didn't Li Longji renovate the palace? He had also renovated the various yamen. They had spent a lot of money, and the prices had finally started to rise. Now, Wang Bei needed to tell everyone where the money was spent and how it was spent. After that, there would be an audit of the accounts. Although the expenditure had been reviewed, there were fluctuations in the prices of goods. Cutting corners was impossible. There would be people watching. The main problem was that the prices of goods in the supply areas were different, resulting in the local authorities making false reports, and false reports. Yes, it looked very interesting. These three situations could lead to greed. Furthermore, the contractors and suppliers did not suffer any losses. The government's accounts did not seem to have any problems at first glance. This was requested by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Bei originally thought that there was nothing for him to do, but he asked him to report the general situation. The others were also puzzled. They felt that they had learned enough economics and could easily understand that deflation and inflation were wrong. The problem was, why did they still need to audit the accounts after they had been reviewed? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan naturally also participated in the morning court session. They wore casual clothes. When they went out in the morning, Zhang Zhong specially came to take a look at his son and daughter-in-law. He warned the two of them not to wear official robes. It was very scary. If the two of them wore official robes and rode horses all the way to the palace, wouldn't the people in the capital be scared to death if they saw them? They thought that something big had happened, forcing Xiaobao and Cuckoo to wear official robes. Therefore, the two of them wore casual clothes. When the people saw them, they waved their hands and greeted them. They were not afraid. The officials who were qualified to attend the court session were also at ease. They mainly saw that the two of them looked awkward in official robes. They did not know why. Perhaps it was because the two of them clearly did not have high positions, but they had too much power. The estimated construction period is to end in April next year. The Yellow River near Luoyang is directly facing the north bank. An iron cable suspension bridge is to be built. The application is for 6,000 strings of coins, and the actual amount is 3,100 strings of coins. For Luoyang officials are to be investigated. Oh, this is not under my control. This is to be allocated. It is estimated that the construction will be completed in February next year. Work will need to be rushed in winter. Oh, this is also not under my control. The Hunan province's Yuzhou port is to be strengthened. The submission of the report request is 45,210 strings of coins and 122 coins. I scolded them. They don't even know how to cheat. They actually gave such specific figures. Are they gods? Can they calculate? The actual amount allocated is 33,500 strings of coins. The Hunan province's Day Lake area requests to increase aquaculture projects. The initial investment is estimated to be 50,000 strings of coins. This is a fake estimate that did not include a few coins, but I directly rejected it. This year, the aquaculture merchants or individuals around Day Lake paid 30,000 strings of coins in tax. At the same time, the net cage industry in Yunzhou paid 16,440 strings of coins in tax. The people around them raised them themselves, and they formed an industrial chain. Is there a need for the local government to take the initiative to raise them? They really take me for a fool. The officials of the Ministry of Personnel should investigate and see how many local officials eat fish, prawns, and crabs without spending money. Luzhou's Chao Lake requests the court to allocate funds to build a large number of viewing platforms at the entrance of Chao Lake to attract more tourists to spend money. They asked me to give them 3,000 strings of coins, saying that it will solve all the problems and provide more than 15,000 jobs. I have already sent people from the Ministry of Revenue to investigate. Because 3,000 strings of coins is not enough, they should be looking for merchants to invest. They use the land to calculate the money. I have to send people to look at the place and then collect taxes. They want to cheat me of 3,000 strings of coins? Dream on. Jiangnan's East Road. Wang Bei said one by one. Everyone listened as if they were listening to a joke. At the same time, they felt sad for the local government. They used all kinds of methods to try to cheat the court to allocate funds, but in the end, they were all targeted by Wang Bei. For example, the Day Lake government. How could they have thought that the Minister of Revenue would judge the form of the industry based on the local tax situation? Also, Chao Lake, can't you say more? Why do they have to ask for 3,000 strings of coins? Don't the officials there learn accounting? The ratio of output to investment is obviously wrong. How can 15,000 jobs be settled with 3 million coins? 200 coins for a job? Then how much is the monthly wage of these 15,000 people? The local officials are gods. Chapter 10. Wang Bei read them one by one. Most of the time, he was looking at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Every time he read something he was proud of, he would shake his head. In this regard, the civil and military officials in the court understood him. As the Minister of Revenue, Wang Bei was truly responsible. Every time he did something, he was worried about making mistakes. He was afraid of being picked on. As long as he made a mistake, the first thing people would think of was what would happen if Xiaobao and Cuckoo were here. Wang Bei was under too much pressure. If he did his job well, he would not be praised. Even if he did things perfectly, the glory would still go to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. On the other hand, if he made a mistake, he had to bear the responsibility. He had been suppressing it for a long time. Today, when he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan appear, he felt that it was time to show his face. He wanted to show the two that even without them, he could do it himself. He was the Minister of Revenue. When it came to money, he was not worse than anyone, especially not the two of them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan listened quietly and nodded from time to time. They did not want to suppress anyone. Everyone could do their job well, so why should they worry? It was tiring. The two of them did not care, but Wang Bei was competing in his heart. Seeing that the two of them only listened and did not speak, he became more and more proud. He turned a page in the book in his hand and read, Jiangnan East Road, Suzhou Prefecture, Haiyan County. Expansion of the docks requires 90,000 and 3,000 strings of coins. However, due to the cooperation with Kunshan Flawless Mining, only 76,000 strings of coins is allocated. Reporting the facts, no mistakes, and, Minister Wang, please wait a moment. Finally, Zhang Xiaobao frowned and interrupted Wang Bei. Oh, Commander Zhang, what can you teach me? Wang Bei was excited. The opportunity he had been waiting for had finally arrived. The opportunity to counterattack and prove that he was stronger than Zhang Xiaobao had arrived. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a moment and asked, how big is the docks to be expanded in Haiyan County? Do they need to take out 76,000 strings of coins? Reporting the facts? Before the expansion, the annual throughput was 1.25 million tons. After the expansion, the annual throughput will be 1.75 million tons. Wang Bei didn't even look at the notebook this time. Zhang Xiaobao was very satisfied with the increase of 50,000 tons. He could not expect the current Great Tang's docks to handle as much as they would in the future. Besides, sea salt small docks were not big, and they were usually used for short-distance operations. Large quantities of goods were unloaded at other docks, such as Luzhou's port and Quanzhou's port. But there was a problem. How could the expansion of 50,000 tons of sea salt require 76,000 strings of coins, which is equivalent to 1,520 copper coins per ton? Although the specific design was different, it was obviously larger than the other ports. He asked, how is the original calculated? Wang Ke replied, Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company is located in Kunshan. The transportation costs for the port are higher than other places. Sea salt is mainly used for farming, sea salt production, and manufacturing. Mining resources are insufficient. Wang Bei was standing closer to Li Longji, while Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were standing at the bottom. They weren't wearing their official robes, so they ran to the bottom. He looked down as if he was looking down on them. Zhang Xiaobao did not care about the other party's attitude at all. He smiled and said, does Kunshan's Flawless Mining Company have to mine from Kunshan to expand Sea Salt County's port? Of course. Is there a better place around here? Wang Bei asked. Sea salt is across Hangzhou Bay. Opposite Hangzhou Bay is Yuyao, which is rich in granite and kaolin. One is directly used for construction, and the other is used for cement firing. The distance between Hangzhou Bay and Hangzhou Bay is very short. Sea Salt is building a cement factory there, and instead of using Yuyao's resources, they went to Kunshan to transport raw materials. Minister Wang, do you believe it? Kunchin's flawless mining company is a classic example of making false claims or colluding with the local government. Where did the extra money go? Zhang Xiaobao did not need to look at the map at all. Hangzhou was so famous. As a swindler, how could he not know about the resources of various places? Wang Bei was stunned by the question. He blinked and thought that it made sense. According to the map, Kunchin was closer to sea salt than Yuyao. However, considering the speed and convenience of transportation, as well as the mineral content, Yuyao was worried about Kunchin in all aspects. Zhang Xiaobao said, the most important thing is that Yuyao has a lot of skilled workers. Did they not borrow workers from Yuyao to build the docks, hire manpower, and process the stones? Wang Bei was stumped. The civil and military officials looked at him together. Sweat dripped down his forehead. Li Longji laughed. He did not care about this small problem. How could the people under him be so clean? Hearing the emperor's words, Wang Bei gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Damn it, you lied to me. And you want to transport by land? Investigate." Wang Bei did not refute that the people from Kunchin's flawless mining company did not know about the situation. If they did not know, then the local government in sea salt also did not know. They were clearly setting up a trap to gain more profits. This was how the national treasury's money flowed out. If one looked at the government's accounts, they would not find any problems. They had to look at Kunchin's flawless mining company and the local Kunchin's accounts. Wang Bei knew how to look. Didn't flawless mining company mine from Kunchin? Then the local revenue tax would include this. If they could not take it out, then it would be a problem. If they could take it out, then the local government would have to pay the tax themselves. There was also the logistics account. Kunchin's flawless mining company did not have logistics, so they could not afford it. This would increase the cost, unless they built a logistics company to not only transport their own goods, but also take on other people's work. Finally, they had to investigate the revenue of Yuyao's yamen. They also needed political achievements. Could it be that Kunchin's flawless mining company had bribed all the officials in 3 places? How much would it cost to bribe officials across the state? Wang Bei was angry. He was angry at himself for not finding the problem. He was angry at the local government in sea salt. They tricked him. Finally, he was angry at himself for not being able to compete with Zhang Xiaobao. What was Zhang Xiaobao doing all day? Wasn't he keeping an eye on the new medicine research and industrial research? Looking at Wang Bei's awkward expression, Zhang Zhong could not bear it. He felt that Wang Bei was very unlucky. Why did he always run into his son? His spirit was praiseworthy, but his behavior could not be encouraged. If he kept losing, it would affect his work. Xiaobao, since you know, then what about the money? Zhang Zhong helped Wang Bei ask. How would I know? Zhang Xiaobao spread his hands and answered. Yu Wenrong asked, you have always been in charge of the Great Tang Bank. The government's accounts all go through the Great Tang Bank. How could you not know? The Great Tang Bank covers a lot of areas and has a lot of business. The daily entry and exit quota is more than 100 million strings of coins. I can't keep an eye on a small place like sea salt, right? Besides, the 70,000 strings of coins was not a one-time expenditure. According to the progress of the project, I estimate that most of the money is still in the Sea Salt County government's account. Zhang Xiaobao spoke the truth. 70,000 strings of coins was indeed very small. He also didn't try to trip Wang Bei up by saying that the money was gone. Wang Bei clapped his hands vigorously and said, good, right, according to the progress of the project. Most of the money is still in the account. Seal their accounts for me, including that Kunchin Flawless Mining Company. Seal their accounts for me as well. I want to see the data and see who they gave the money to. Zhang Xiaobao said indifferently, send the documents. Once the documents are sent, the bank will be sealed. If there is a problem, the person who sent the documents will bear the responsibility. As for checking the Kunchin Flawless Mining Company's accounts, he won't be able to find anything by just checking. He can give the money to a logistics company, or he can give the money to some mine in Kunchin. When the time comes, he can just transfer the money. As for the logistics company, it depends on which government office they are registered with and how big their network is. If it is big enough, they will settle the accounts. Then give me a seal too. I will send people. Xiao Bao, the Ministry of Revenue, will send people again, wasting money and manpower. In the end, you can do something, okay? Wang Bei's attitude changed. He realized that it was too difficult to send people directly from the capital. Not only was the journey long, but the local people would also resist. If he really wanted to find something, he didn't know how long it would take. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan controlled spies all over the country, not only in the country, but also abroad. They were practically everywhere. If the other party was willing to help, all he had to do was say something. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and refused. No, where can I go? Just as Wang Bei was getting angry, Zhang Xiaobao said, Minister Wang can report this matter to the Tang Dynasty's 9 patrolling inspectors. They have the responsibility of patrolling the area. Wang Bei was happy. Yes, he couldn't just let Zhang Xiaobao do it. Even if he knew that his family's spy system was powerful, he would be roasting him on the fire. Without a name or status, who would dare to directly have a spy? The other party was a business person who only collected business intelligence for his family and supervised his own industry. He didn't target the government or the bank. If it was Xiao Bei and the others, it would be different. Xiao Bei and the others were working for the imperial court, so it was legitimate for them to use the spy system. Many thanks. Wang Bei clasped his hands toward Zhang Xiaobao. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao took out a large stack of papers from his bag. He didn't hand it over to the eunuch and walked up to Li Longji's side. He placed the papers on the table and said, with the rapid development of Great Tang's economy, all sorts of things will happen. In the past few days, Cuckoo and I have checked the laws of Great Tang. It's pretty good, and we've added in quite a few regulations. However, there are still some lacking. The two of us took some time to come up with a few outlines for the current situation. We'll have to trouble our colleagues in the Bureau of Rights. Apart from that, there are also some administrative regulations. This is especially so for the government's investment in construction and procurement. In order to be more transparent, there are also requirements for one's aptitude and funding. However, this will also increase the authority of the Great Tang Bank. We also need to strengthen the manpower of the bank's supervision department, as well as its administrative supervision. The things that Cuckoo and I have provided aren't perfect, so we can only manage the current situation. As production technology and productivity increase, the economic development model will become more diverse, so we'll have to continue to supplement it. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao strolled off. Li Longji wasn't looking at the papers on the table, but at Zhang Xiaobao's back. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were doing their best not to participate in the affairs of the imperial court, but when they saw a problem and didn't want the officials of the imperial court to take the wrong path, they had no choice but to take action. The original plan was to make them princes and give them a piece of land, but the two of them didn't agree. They said that in the future, the Great Tang would be a single entity, including the overseas territories. In the future, everything would be part of the Great Tang's territory and not just a name. At the same time, they would take back all the fiefs, both in name and in reality. Only this way could they reduce the potential for division in the future. So how should they be rewarded? There was nothing to be rewarded. According to the history books, if there was nothing to be rewarded, they should be killed. The problem was that they couldn't be killed unless the Great Tang was thrown into turmoil, causing the people to lose their support and the flames of war to rise. So be it. They could do whatever they wanted. In any case, they didn't want the throne. Li Longji watched as Zhang Xiaobao left. He didn't mention the matter of reward, much less praise. The officials also silently watched as Zhang Xiaobao left. They understood history and knew that the current situation was very complicated. Of course, it was also very simple. There had never been an existence like these two in history. They could clearly command the world, but they were concerned with other matters. Their achievements intimidated the emperor, but the emperor wasn't willing to kill them, nor could he kill them. Even those officials who had been stripped of their status as nobles and great clans knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan weren't just useful to the imperial court. They were also a sort of faith for the people. Just look at how the people of all regions had to offer incense to the tablets of these two people every day. This was even better than the worship of that so-called religion that was about to enter the Great Tang. If something were to happen to the two of them, the sky would collapse for the people. Thus, the current situation was very good. The two of them were still young and could maintain this state for many years. Let's talk about the future in the future. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't stay for long. After delivering the items, they turned around and left. First, they had to go to the research base of the Ministry of Works to see the progress of the various research areas. For example, the steam engine used on ships, as well as multiple sets of diesel engines for ships. The two of them didn't want to change the development model of ships. From human power to sail power to steam power, diesel power, steam power, and finally nuclear power. Xiaobao, we still have to increase taxes, Wang Wan said as she looked at the pedestrians on the street. Increasing property tax and inheritance tax won't do. It doesn't match the current cultural traditions of the people, Zhang Xiaobao said. He knew that the faster the economy developed, the more obvious the trend of the flow of money would be. Even with free medical care, free education, and free job training, the polarization would increase. Thus, they could only continue to narrow the gap through administrative and legal means. Since the first tax increase, there had been 3 tax rate adjustments. However, the people who had paid for the tax increase still accepted it and didn't show any strong opposition. This showed that this was the golden period of their industry's development. They knew how easy it was to earn money. After the golden period of some industries passed, new support and compensation plans would be needed. Yes, many people like to buy houses now. After buying them, they just leave them there. When other people come over and don't have a house to live in, they can only expand. Many economic crises start with housing. We can't wait until we can't control it, and then regret it. Wang Wan followed. She knew what had happened in that era too well. It seemed that in those 100 years, all economic development and economic crises revolved around real estate. Who asked it to be able to drive all industries? When the weather is warm, let's go traveling. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to consider so many problems now and changed the topic. When Xiaobei and the rest come back, let's go overseas. There are warm places outside. Enjoy life and don't always stay in Beijing. When we come back, we'll ask Li Longji to go around the country. He's quite pitiful. Wang Wan's eyes lit up when she heard that they were going to travel. Many places still had their original scenery. They formed a fleet and went to America for a stroll or to Australia. Some businessmen had already gone to Australia and brought back koalas to raise them. When they were outside, they could see the scenery, see the animals, eat good food, and bring back some gemstones. Africa was a good place. There was also the Nile River and the Rhine River. She believed that they had their own unique scenery. We also have to go to the Mediterranean Sea to experience the climate there. Zhang Xiaobao was also filled with yearning. He didn't want to play around in Great Tang. The world was so big, and he wanted to see the world. The two talked as they walked, comparing their knowledge from time to time. Xiaobei's side finally set off. The snow had stopped, and the road wasn't easy to walk on. However, they couldn't stay here forever and wait for the snow to melt. The speed of the group was very slow, but they were also very determined. Time quietly passed while everyone was busy with various things. In many places where the weather wasn't very cold and there was no frozen ground, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family were building an airport, a simple airport. The performance of the plane was not good, and its endurance was poor. They also needed the plane to fly to various places in a timely manner. Thus, there was only one way left. They had to build more airports, train maintenance personnel, and transport parts and fuel. When there was a need, No matter where the plane took off, it would be able to quickly reach the destination after a transfer. Now, there was a shortage of workers. Great Tang urgently needed more people. Besides giving birth and slowly raising them, the only way was to bring people from other places. An urgent order was passed down, requesting that the fleet carrying out ocean trade bring back more people. They had to work hard in places where there was conflict. There were those who knew that the locals knew how powerful you were and wouldn't fight you. They could only tempt you with money and benefits. But sometimes there were people who liked to cause trouble. Even if they knew that they couldn't stop Great Tang's development, they still insisted on causing trouble for Great Tang in various aspects. When they couldn't attack Great Tang or attack the Great Tang fleet or merchants in other places, they would lobby the locals, especially those who had formed a religion or a country. They liked to target such people. The method of lobbying was simple. They would constantly tell the other party how good Great Tang was, how happy the people there were, what things were cheap to buy, and what they usually ate. After saying all this, when the locals were full of ambition, they would tell the locals how expensive the local things were in Great Tang, and how the Great Tang merchants would lower the price. In this way, the locals would feel that they were losing out when trading with each other. Chapter 11. Trade was profitable to begin with. The size of the profit depended on the cost and the buyer's demand. The cost included many things. Simply put, it was the cost of production technology, the cost of production materials, the cost of labor, the cost of publicity, the cost of transportation, and the cost of taxation. Was the cost of goods sold by Tang merchants to other places high? Naturally, it was not high. If one really wanted to talk about it, it was high in technical research and transportation. However, the profit earned was not small. This was because the buyer did not have the corresponding technology and wanted to have it. In such a situation, those who did not raise the price were not merchants, but philanthropists. After being promoted by some people, those who could afford it did not care. The watches produced by Tang were luxury goods. They wanted to buy cheap ones, but they did not want to buy them locally. In a situation where they could not personally go to Tang to buy, they instead hoped that the price of the goods would gradually increase, especially the goods they already had. Even a person who did not understand economics and social ideology knew that owning luxury goods was equivalent to owning status. If the watch bought today required 100 sheep to be exchanged, the same watch tomorrow would be 80 sheep, and the day after tomorrow would be 60 sheep. In the end, this kind of watch could not be sold. No one bought it, even if it could tell the time, even if it was beautiful. However, it was depreciating. Not only was the number of sheep reduced, but also the identity and status of the owner. Those who could not afford Tang's goods thought the opposite. They could not compare to those with money and status through their own efforts, so they hoped to use other methods to make those with money and status lose. It was a common thought of social individuals, regardless of system. It was a very complicated social relationship and a very simple social psychology. The people behind the scenes would also find the latter and tell them the truth. They could not afford it, but they would criticize and criticize like consumers who were about to spend. They would criticize Tang merchants for selling cheap things to them at expensive prices and making them pay more. They would protest and ask for Tang merchants to lower the price. Tang merchants could not lower the price. They had to protect the interests of the rich and status people who bought the products and also maintain their own profits. Therefore, those who wanted to sabotage continued to promote, letting those who could not afford to buy things accumulate emotions and prepare for the moment of explosion. Even if the people who wanted to sabotage Tang clearly knew how powerful Tang's military strength was, even if they knew that people who were exploited would be severely punished for attacking Tang people, they still did it to make things difficult for Tang. Some of them worked near the ports, and they saw with their own eyes that every time Zhang Xiaobao ordered the great Tang ports to ship grain to Japan or restrict grain shipments, Japan would lose a large chunk of its currency. It seemed that what was being lost was currency, but the great Tang didn't want Japanese money. It wasn't that ordinary merchants didn't want it. They would use money to buy things back. Every loss was inevitably an outflow of resources. Those with insight in Japan had concluded that when goods were outflowed, the greatest damage was to the ruling class and the culture of the people. Any action personally ordered by Zhang Xiaobao was bound to cause the Japanese people to be dissatisfied with the ruling class. At the same time, they would be even more loyal to the Great Tang because of the basic survival resources provided by the Great Tang. What a frightening action! What a deserving Zhang Xiaobao! Half a year ago, several people in this organization had persuaded a powerful quasi-ruler in Kobe to establish a bank on the same level as the Great Tang Bank to take in the local currency. They wanted to find an opportunity to trade with the Great Tang and exchange currency with the Great Tang. When the bank was established, they received a large sum of money. More importantly, the Great Tang had also used goods as collateral to lend money at a low price. The interest was very high. A month's interest was 2%, a year's interest was 24%, and it was even higher in leap months. But a month later, the Great Tang's grain shipments to Japan began to decrease. Most of the grain shipments were from Kobe, and at the time, there hadn't been any problems. Later on, some people began to buy grain at high prices around Kobe. Last month, the people living in Kobe were forced to raise the price to buy from others. At this time, the Great Tang's grain shipment stopped. A month later, the Great Tang's main wheat region in Jiangnan would have a harvest, but the Great Tang said that it didn't have enough grain. Half a month ago, someone suddenly ran to the Kobe Bank and used the Great Tang's wheat harvest in half a month's time as collateral to borrow a large amount of money from the Kobe Bank. Before they could figure out what was going on, the quasi-ruling clan of Kobe had lent a large amount of money to the Great Tang. In the end, the Great Tang began to buy grain from Japan while using Japanese money to exchange for Great Tang reserves. And then they said that the purchasing power of 100 copper coins in Japan had become 30 copper coins. This was called devaluation, and internally it was called inflation. And when the Great Tang people who had borrowed from them did not return the money due, the other people began to run on them, and the Kobe Bank went bankrupt. The Great Tang began to lower the credit rating of the Japanese currency. Fortunately, they had been smart enough to transfer the loan to their own government before they went bankrupt. The money the Great Tang had borrowed would still have to be returned when the time came. But yesterday, the day before the wheat was due, they returned the money, including the interest. The money they returned was 1/3 of the actual purchasing power of the loan. In other words, 2/3 of the money was earned by the Great Tang. And this was not the end. Today, the Great Tang announced that it would raise the export tariff of its new wheat exports by 10%. The reason was not that they could just raise the tariff as they wished. No, it was that the Great Tang's currency had begun to inflate, and its purchasing power had decreased. Thus, if the Japanese wanted to use the Great Tang's money to buy things, they had to adjust the tariff accordingly. The problem was that the Great Tang statement was based on your previous deflation. But why didn't the Great Tang lower the export tariff during the deflation? Could it be that the Great Tang put a portion of the losses from the deflation on us? And all of this was because of Zhang Xiaobao. When he heard that Zhang Xiaobao was looking at the new breed of pigs at the Senongsi temple, he casually said these words. Wang Wan added a few words from the side, and thus the current situation was created. How could such a person be allowed to live? One was a trade, and the other was a currency. We need to think and think before we can understand the principles behind it. The two of them seemed to have known the process and the result long ago. They were very familiar with their methods. The most important thing was that Zhang Xiaobao's actions were never so simple. Now he had just crushed a bank and earned 2/3 of the money. He could also earn another 10% of the grain exports. However, those who knew him well knew that he would always use a series of schemes. The matter was definitely not over yet. This was only the beginning. So what they had done before was right. They had to continue doing it. They could not let themselves be beaten and not fight back. It was just that they did not do it properly last time, and the great Tang seemed to have taken advantage of it. But there would be a time when they would do it properly. The insightful people among the Japanese continued to walk forward in a dilemma. 2 days had passed since the increase in the export tax. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were going to the Ministry of Works and the Research Institute today. The weather was warm. The capital was still occasionally cold, but Jiangnan was already in summer. In a few more days, the lotus flowers in West Lake will bloom. Xiao Bei and the rest are not in a hurry to come back. Come back quickly. We still have to bring them to Hangzhou to play. Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about the trip. Xiao Bei and the rest had said that the potato harvest was good, so they were processing chips there. How long had it been? Could they still be processed? If they are willing to ride horses there, then let them play. You still want to go out? I heard that many people want your life. Wang Wan smiled and asked, There are many people who want my life. They have to have the ability to do so. I am not going out incognito anymore. I am going out with a large group of people. I still want their lives. Don't think that I don't know who instigated the attack on our merchants in Sumatra. If they succeed, I will admit that they are powerful. In the end, those hundreds of people failed, and they gave us an excuse to further intervene with military force and ask for compensation from their country. They also ceded land for us to train and station. If they have the ability, they can continue. Whoever dares to do it, I will cede their country's land. If they dare not, I will destroy them. They still want us to sell the goods at a lower price? If we sell them at a lower price, the first to oppose us will be their comrades. Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips and said. Wang Wan added, Let's not talk about that annoying matter. Today, the Research Institute said that they will give us a surprise. Let's see what is going on. Chapter 12. The drizzle continues, and the passers-by cross paths with the swallow. The cold light festival and the hazy early summer. Singing and studying lightly, and lying down in the mountains. The chest is warm, and the clouds are intertwined, brushing against the warm glow. Zhang Xiaobao said that he was not going to visit the Research Institute incognito, so he definitely would not sneak into the Research Institute. After he and Wang Wan left the house, there were 500 members of the seedling protection team around them. Each of them held a submachine gun and vigilantly looked at everyone around them. The drizzle continued to fall from the sky. When the passers-by, who were in a hurry, saw the seedling protection team in their formation, they immediately hid to the side. The shop assistants at the roadside hurriedly pulled the people standing at the entrance into the shop and did not allow the people in the shop to come out. The shop assistants on the second or third floor rushed up and stood at the window with their backs to the outside. People who wanted to eat were not allowed to see the rain outside. The people all knew that Xiaobao and Cuckoo were going out. As residents, they would consciously minimize the possible danger. Then, they would secretly look at Xiaobao and Cuckoo's clothes and expressions. First of all, they had to confirm whether they were wearing official uniforms. When the two of them wore official uniforms, it was usually when they encountered an important matter. The people would wonder what was the matter. If they were not wearing official uniforms and were walking around in casual clothes, it was obvious that they were relaxing. If the two of them were not wearing official uniforms and were still in a hurry, it was guaranteed that they had encountered an urgent matter. The people would be very anxious. Today, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were wearing jackets, jeans, sneakers, and an armed belt around their waist. A row of knives, pistols, and magazines could be easily seen on the armed belt. There was also a revolver on their right thighs. The two of them did not have umbrellas, so they chatted as they walked. They were not walking fast, and their expressions were natural. The people were relieved that nothing was wrong. Xiaobao and Cuckoo were out to play normally. After the procession passed by, the shops returned to their original state. The pedestrians continued on their way, discussing where Xiaobao and Cuckoo were going to play today. No one felt that the two of them were arrogant, and no one said that they were afraid of death. If the two of them did not bring guards, the common people would be angry. They would feel that the two of them were not responsible for themselves and the great Tang. They would feel that the two of them were making the common people panic, that there was a problem with their morals, that their character was bad, and that they were selfish. When the team was about to leave Vermilion Bird Avenue, a person who was cleaning up the mud on the side of the road straightened up. When he saw a group of people with guns, he wiped the sweat mixed with rain on his forehead with his arm and greeted them warmly. "Xiaobao, cuckoo, are you busy? Take an umbrella. Be careful of the cold." Zhang Xiaobao did not know the other party, but he still responded warmly. "It's nothing, little you. There's no need to rush. The Research Institute said that there's something good, so I'm going over to take a look. When you're done with your work, go to Savant's restaurant to take a hot bath and warm up some wine. You're on my tab. You're too polite. You stink, and I'm afraid that people will be annoyed." The person who greeted them declined, but he was in a particularly good mood. He felt more energetic when he worked. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked like this, greeting people along the way. The streets were very lively, and the rain did not dampen the enthusiasm of the common people. If there was something that was lacking, it was naturally the children. Today was not a holiday. The children under 5 were in kindergarten, the children above 5 were in school, and the younger ones could not be carried out for a bath. The team walked for an hour and a half before entering the mountainous area, where the Research Institute was located. The cement road extended all the way in, and there were watchtowers on both sides. The soldiers on the watchtowers were patrolling with guns, and some people were using binoculars to observe further. When they saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan appear, they hurriedly picked up the phone to inform the people inside. The team entered without any hindrance. No one asked for a password, and no one ran down to check their IDs. They continued to walk along the road. After walking for 2 kilometers and passing by several hidden sentry posts, a teaching area appeared in front of them. There were many tall buildings inside. Due to confidentiality, students who were qualified to participate in the study were not allowed to leave the school at will. There were also strict restrictions. If one's family was far away from the capital, then they had to move. After leaving, there might be people secretly following them. One was responsible for protection, while the other was responsible for surveillance. The students could understand, so they did not object. Many times, when they missed their family, they would ask them to visit. The school had specially prepared rooms for visiting family members. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan liked to see how others looked when they were studying in class. In the past, when they came here, they would always stay outside one of the classrooms to listen. Today was no exception. Someone was playing basketball on the field in the rain. Playing basketball was not a problem, but what interested the two of them was that the person dribbled the ball while reciting the periodic table of elements. In addition to the older children in their teens, there were 4 children who could be seen in order of age. They were 4 little girls. They wore the same clothes and had the same hairstyle. They looked like they were the same person at different times. The 4 little girls did not pay attention to the game on the basketball court. They were staying under the canopy, holding a few batteries and light bulbs, and assembling a video player. A large roll of film was placed next to them. The 4 oldest girls, who looked to be around 8 years old, were seriously assembling the video player according to the words written on a piece of paper. The other girls, who should be her younger sisters, looked with eager eyes and occasionally asked a question. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other, revealing a comfortable smile. This was an era of learning. This was an era where children knew how to work hard. Most children were willing to go to school. A small number of children who did not want to study, attracted by the school's benefits and various handicraft courses, endured the boredom of studying and went to school. The benefits were naturally the Treasure Candy House series amusement park rides. The better the grades, the more free rides they would get. If they did not go to school and had no money, they could only play ordinary free rides. like electric trojans and small trains. If they wanted to play, they had to pay. If they did not have money, they still wanted to play? If they went to school, they had to eat free cake and ice cream? If they had good grades, they would get it. This learning was not only about mathematics and language, but also other aspects. If you could make a small motor and small plane by yourself, you could be considered to have good grades. It felt quite simple, but for children, if they wanted to make it, they still had to learn mathematics and language because they needed to measure the size and understand the introduction text. Now that the four little girls were taking the initiative to learn, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were even happier. The two of them quietly came around the four children, which was behind the older children. The two of them moved little by little while maintaining the same posture, looking at the basketball court. When they were far away, the two little girls actually saw them, but because they were too far away, they did not pay attention and continued to watch the movements of their sister's hands. They waited and slowly moved over. Because of the psychological inertia, the two girls did not feel that anything was wrong and continued to watch the movements of their sister's hands. What is wrong? When the positive and negative electrodes are connected, the light bulb will light up and shine on the film, and the image will be displayed on the screen in front of us. But why doesn't the light bulb light up? The oldest girl was very distressed. She fiddled with the battery and the light bulb, but the light bulb did not light up. She had already tried to connect it back and forth. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan stuck their heads out to observe and then found the problem. The filament in the light bulb was broken. When the two of them got closer, they were finally noticed by the older child. When she turned her head, she was first shocked. Then she shouted happily, "Brother Xiaobao, Sister Cuckoo, we are here to see brother." "Okay, come often." Zhang Xiaobao smiled and nodded. Then, "Brother Xiaobao, can you tell me why the light bulb doesn't light up?" The girl was still thinking about this. Zhang Xiaobao naturally had to answer to the studious child. He took the light bulb and said to the four children, "First of all, we have to understand the principle of the light bulb. The current light bulb is when an electric current passes through an object, and then there is an obstruction to the current. We call it resistance. Then, under the obstruction, it will heat up and light up. In the absence of oxygen, the loss of the light bulb is very small. Then, the premise is that there is resistance, and there must be an electric current passing through. Like a river, if the resistance is small, the water will continue to flow, but if the resistance is too big, the water will be cut off. The premise is that the river has to be smooth. If the river itself is cut off, can there still be water flowing? Obviously not. The same goes for electric current. Look, the filament is broken, the current cannot pass through, and the light bulb does not light up." Zhang Xiaobao explained patiently. Then he gently adjusted the light bulb in his hand and shook it a little. Because the broken filament was long, he shook it a little, and it clumped together. At this time, the resistance was higher, and the filament would be burned again, but it could hold on. Wang Wan had connected a few batteries into a battery pack and used a wire stopper to hold it. She passed 2 wires to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao wrapped one wire around the butt of the light bulb, and the other wire pointed to the center of the light bulb. Shua! The light bulb lit up. Wow! The 4 little girls shouted happily and looked at Zhang Xiaobao with admiration. Wang Wan smiled and said, "Learning is learning this way of thinking. First, know why, then solve it. What I know is called knowing why, but I also need to know why." The older child used the knowledge she had learned. Then, Brother Xiaobao, Sister Cuckoo, after learning this knowledge, "Can we solve any problem?" A younger girl asked. "Of course, if we can't solve it, it's because we haven't learned it well enough." Wang Wan could not deny, but she did not say that. There were many things that could not be solved. "Then can we make the sky clear? I hate rain." The little girl frowned and looked at the sky outside. "Yes, as long as we know why it is raining, we can think of a way to make the sky clear." Although Wang Wan could not blow away the clouds now, she still left this idea to the children. However, just as she finished speaking, the rain stopped. Then a crack appeared in the dark clouds in the sky, and a ray of sunlight shone down, slanting on her body. Wow, you are really a god. The four little girls stared at Wang Wan. Sigh. Wang Wan sighed. She said in her heart that she wanted them to have the motivation and interest to learn, not to let them believe in the existence of God. But the heavens did not help and deliberately made trouble. You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.